everyone, and welcome to Film Geek Time Machine. I'm your host, Austin Kennedy. This is my co-host, Tim Kaiser.
Tim Kaiser.
Hello, say hello.
I just said Tim Kaiser.
All right, this is the podcast where we go back in time. I have a time machine. We go back in time to watch movies because that's what a film geek's going to do. So, and you're coming with me.
Do all film geeks have their time?
If a film geek had a time machine, I guarantee you that we got to go back in time to go see this movie.
I really wish that they would be better than us and they go back and save people's lives. They would maybe.
That's too risky. I would rather. I feel like that would cause
We just traveled through time and stole my car from the past so we could drive around and go to a fucking drive-in theater. Okay?
Right. So the date that we picked. So this is the third episode, and the previous two episodes we did my birthday and we did Tim's birthday. So this is the first episode. We actually just picked a random date. I went on random number generator and I picked a random date and year. We're going back not super far actually, but we're going back August
33 years.
Yeah.
We're old.
Right. August 27th, 1989. So we were both alive. And I was 13.
I turned 20. Actually, I had turned 21 earlier this week.
Yeah, right.
So that's why when we traveled through time, we stole my car because I didn't need my car that week. Okay?
When you were 21, did you go out and drink pretty?
I remember
that
I did. I know I've never been a crazy drinker, but
yeah.
I know I did do drinking that week.
So 13, I'm trying to think what I was doing around this time in August. Obviously, I was dreading school starting. Probably watching movies because I always went to the theater. I did want to make sure that I didn't want to cause some kind of paradox. So I made sure that we went to movies that I know I didn't see. So in the theater.
Wait. The fact that I had seen one of these in the theater, now time has ended?
No. If we were at the same... No. Because I go to the movies, and I went to these theaters back then, because I was here.
The one I had seen, I did not see the Coon Rapids drive-thru.
Yeah. No, and I didn't either. So we actually went through the paper, and so let's take a look at the August 27th, 1989 paper. Before I tell you what we chose, I'll tell you what we didn't choose. So this was summer of '89 was huge. There was so many blockbusters. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Batman.
This was not early, but this is
Lethal Weapon 2.
After summer blockbusters had gone pretty crazy.
Well, it was like this year and the year before were the ones that kind of made like the summer blockbuster kind of a thing in the late '80s, and Batman was kind of the big one because that was like June 23rd. Like I remember seeing the poster for Batman, and it was just the symbol, and it didn't even say Batman on it, and then it said June 23rd. Like that's all it said. It was like the teaser poster for it. We did not see Batman.
I do not remember.
We did not go see Batman.
Nope, we did not.
But The Abyss was out.
I don't see it. We're looking at the Showtime.
Yeah.
I don't see Batman on here for anywhere.
I
mean, it was like
it's there it is. It's at Northtown, the Northtown Theater.
Okay, so but not very many.
No, because it was already out for 2 months at this point, but it was still out.
Yeah,
and same thing. Indiana Jones: Last Crusade is at one. It's over the Burnhaven 8.
Yep. When in the year did that come out? Do you know?
End of May. So this was
okay.
This was like 4 months.
Boy, I tell you, that
months.
month was a good month.
It was this whole summer was pretty good. UHF came out in July,
Oh,
but it's not on here, so that went away real quick.
That bombed, even though.
And that's a great. Have you seen it? You seen UHF? It's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Love it.
It is really good. So there was also we got Wired, which was a John Belushi. I heard it's really bad.
Yes, that was one of our options.
That was our options that we kind of picked. Parenthood was out, which is Steve Martin.
That would have been
and Rick Moranis again. Which
that would have been. We had to pick. We had a
Weekend at Bernie's, Ghostbusters 2.
We both kind of wanted to mostly see stuff we hadn't.
Most of the time.
Well, me, I've only ever seen one of these before.
Karate Kid 3, License to Kill.
Okay,
which
I
is
don't
Timothy
need
Bolton
to see
John.
Karate Kid 3. Okay.
At the cheap theaters, because they had second-run theaters, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is
I would have not complained about it. I saw that like 3 times in the theater. So.
And then at Uptown,
so that one we might have run into me.
Oh,
so we couldn't have.
So
at
Uptown, Sex, Lies, and Videotape was there, which is Steven Soderbergh's first film, which is I remember really liking that one. So that's kind of what was all out. I'm trying to see if there's anything else worth noting. When Harry Met Sally was also out too.
I mean, these are big name pop culture things.
Oh, another one we didn't choose was I almost was tempted just to watch it was Babar the movie. which was based off of the children's books.
Yeah.
And I've never seen
it
Bad Bar the
would have
movie.
been interesting.
And Cheetah was a Disney movie that came out.
That would have been interesting. We did end this with two real Disney for the first one.
And then Touchstone, which was owned by Disney.
Disney-ish.
Right. All right. So we picked some movies, and we both kind of like decided, like, you know, like I picked one, you picked one, but we all kind of agreed, I think, collectively. So, and then I made sure that we could actually see them in the time. So I you know, like, okay, we're seeing this one at noon, this one at 2 and 4. And then we end up with the drive-in. So we got 6 movies that we're actually going to see in one day. So what we picked is the first movie, we have The Package, which is Gene Hackman.
Unlike some of the previous episodes, these all came out this year.
Yes.
Because the other ones
because sometimes
2 ones that were like some older stuff. Because back then, because this is 89, this isn't the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
They have to like, oh God, movies come out, big blockbusters. We can only fit so many movies, so we can't keep this. We can't keep Gone with the Wind in the theater for, for 30 years.
So The Package, Millennium, which is I haven't seen. So out of all these, 2 of them I haven't seen, and you've seen all.
I had not seen
one.
The only one I'd ever seen was the fifth one.
Yeah. So The Package, Millennium, Let It Ride, which is a comedy with Richard Dreyfuss, Casualties of War, Brian De Palma's Vietnam film. Then we went to the drive-in to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that's the one you saw.
The only one I had seen.
And then Turner and Hooch. That was the double feature at the drive-in. So.
Which I had inexplicably never seen.
Yeah.
Turner and Hooch.
I saw that on opening day, so that's why I knew it wasn't at the drive-in. So I saw it I remember it very clearly because it was July 28th. Because that's my sister's birthday, and I took her.
Did your sister get the hots for Tom Hanks?
She was 5 years old.
How much skin she got to see?
But I remember taking her to the movie 5 years old. So that's how I knew it was on her birthday that came out. Anyways, so we went back in time, and let's talk about some movies that we watched.
Okay,
so let's go. The first movie is The Package. Now, I saw this movie in the theater, but I didn't see it when I saw it at the Springbrook 4 probably 2 months later because it was a second run. So I saw it at the cheap.
You have a much better memory for when and where you.
Stuff.
I can only tell you
and I can tell you who I saw. I saw it with my dad.
In my entire life history before like 2000, I can tell you like 5 movies. I mean that I knew where and when I saw.
No, I'm pretty good at that. I actually have a movie journal too listed in one of my.
You're an insane person.
Yes, I am. Okay. So The Package, Gene Hackman. And in fact. I used to go to video stores all the time, which I think a lot of us did in the 80s. And I don't know if you remember, at least at my video store, which was Speedy Video right across the street from my house, we had, they had like free posters that you could take because they were getting rid of posters that they hung up.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so I always was grabbing them, and one of them was The Package. So I had The Package hanging up in my...
We are currently in Austin's house, and he has movie posters.
I do not have The Package here.
I hope you should, because
the
ones you have on this wall here are only nightmarishly awful films. Okay.
Yeah, I have a Cool as Ice Vanilla Ice poster, a Stroker Ace with Burt Reynolds.
Yes. So, if somebody burned your house down, I'd be like... I understand.
I also have a standee of Lethal Weapon 2. I got Mel and Danny.
Not even Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon 2. I guess
that's awesome.
It's kind of the most memey one of all of them because of the been revoked line. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That really is. The other one's not really anything for the.
Well, okay. Well, let's get to The Package. Gene Hackman. So it is a political thriller.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
For any movie that I had not seen.
Yeah.
I intentionally go in trying to know the bare minimum.
Right.
I knew nothing. I didn't even know Hackman. I knew nothing about who was in this.
Oh.
You just had mentioned it, and I'm like,
sure.
I had heard of Millennium, but this one I had not. I don't know if I even heard of it.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Gene Hackman, Joanna Cassidy, and Tommy Lee Jones. As the
yes, all these people showed up, and I'm like, "Oh, look, this guy's in here."
Dennis Franz.
Yep,
Dennis Franz from NYPD.
Oh, he's a cop. What a surprise!
And Pam Grier, like of all people, is in the movie. It's a small role.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Gene Hackman plays a Marine. It says Green Beret. Look at that.
He's got the Green Beret outfit on there.
Yeah. Because this is right like around the end, like the Cold War kind of thing. They're trying to end the Cold War, trying to end the nuclear thing. So the whole movie kind of revolves around them trying to stop the nuclear arms, like trying to...
Yes, this happens during the time when the Great Wall was coming down.
Yeah.
This movie came out.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear on the actual time in 89 that happened, and I'm like, did they know, or had it happened yet? I wasn't sure.
They probably shot this at the end of 88, so probably not. I'm guessing.
Probably not, I was wondering.
Gene Hackman, the movie kind of starts off with a kind of an action scene where someone is going to be assassinated at this party that they're supposed to be kind of security at or something like that.
Yes, it was.
Well, they don't really tell you what's happening.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
This is a really freaking good movie.
It's solid. It's solid.
This is a solid film. It does do some Hollywoody, like,
of course.
Oh, that's the bad guy. I can tell right now. Okay.
Well,
that guy. Oh, his boss. Oh, that's the bad guy.
Well,
okay.
So what happens is, it's not really his fault that that these kind of bad guys get through, because they see these joggers and they're like, oh, but then the German police show up and they're just like Berlin police, and they're like,
they don't make it super clear whether or not they actually were police,
right? And so, but then he gets orders on his whatever his walkie-talkie, and was just like, nope, let him go, let the police handle it. He's like, okay.
I mean, they had already said that to him before that, so it didn't seem that shady.
No,
at that time.
But then what happens is those guys ended up being assassins, and they take out some political guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure which. It doesn't actually have the actual president here, so I'm like, is that the president? Whatever.
What happens is Gene Hackman, one of his men die, and so things just get fucked up.
Yes, that's right.
And kind of as punishment, they make him like, oh, you're gonna have to deliver this package to America, and it's a prisoner, and supposedly, and it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, the package is a person.
Yeah, it is a person.
They use the word package and don't ever mention it's a person until you actually get to it, and then it goes,
and his name is
this Tommy Lee Jones is the package.
Well, his name is Walter Hankey, supposedly. It's kind of neat because they kind of have like a little talk, like they have a little bit of a mutual respect for each other. They talk to each other, and he's just like, hey, when you do that court martial, and they don't really say what he did. Like they said he like punched an officer, and
yeah, they don't really super make it clear. Although, I mean, he's already, from his very first instant, I'm like, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones.
He doesn't even try to not act like an asshole.
Right. But at the same time, though, he's kind of because it's Tommy Lee Jones, he adds a little bit of a likability to it. Yes, a little bit.
Well, it's weird because he's already being an asshole to Hackman. Yeah, but Hackman seems to kind of like him. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, but I'm like, it's okay.
But then what happens is that they're at the airport after he delivers, or after they touch down, and they get jumped, or Gene Hackman gets hit on the head by some weird guys
in like a bathroom or something. Right?
And then Tommy Lee Jones takes off and he loses his package.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, word of warning: we are going to go full spoilers.
Oh yeah. In
this entire episode of this podcast.
Every once in a while, maybe I might say something. It depends on the movie, but this one, we're going to talk about spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it depends.
So it turns out that Tommy Lee Jones is supposed to assassinate. Is it the president or is it the secretary?
Okay, they say the president numerous times, and then it certainly looks more like he's trying to kill the Soviet guy, the Soviet premier, which doesn't look like. I'm like, is that him? Okay,
right.
So one of those old white guys is the president. The other one's the guy who looks just like the other guy.
Well, and then the guy that told Gene Hackman to take the package, he's pretty much setting him up because he's behind it. Yes. It's played by John Hurd, who, a lot of people know him as the dad in the Home Alone movies.
Yes. Yeah. But he does a good job in this and it's weird.
As soon as you see him, you're like,
he's an asshole. Yeah. He's the bad guy in this movie. It isn't like you're not supposed to know that. Yeah. You are going to know the moment you're like, oh, look at that.
As soon as you see him.
Look at that piece of shit.
Yeah.
He's going to die at the end of this movie.
He doesn't. Oh, no, that's right. No, that's right.
Spoiler alert.
I forgot about that.
He gets murdered, although nobody else in the movie knows.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. They are like talking about he's still missing, and then they cut to whatever. I'm cutting to the end of the movie.
Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Hackman is now trying to find his package, and he goes to find the prisoner and Tommy Lee Jones, but he seeks help of his ex-wife, Joanna, who's, I forgot what rank she is, but she's
like a lieutenant colonel. Yeah. She's our general. She's like high up there. She's pretty high up.
So he tried her to help, and then she gets the help of another officer, which played by Pam Grier. She's only in like one or two scenes, but then
she doesn't make it through the movie.
No, like she finds some.
They don't super show her dying. They show her dead body.
Yeah.
Well, she was murdered by that guy that she was looking at.
Yeah. Well, they show her like being stalked, and then they just that was it. So she finds some information out. And she was onto something when she dies. So she turns up dead. And so they go to Chicago to Joanna Cassidy. And Joanna Cassidy, you might know, she was Bob Hoskins' love interest in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In this movie, the president and the premier are going to sign some type of thing in Chicago because Chicago is where they split the atom for the first time.
And there's a bunch
of how do we make this movie take place in America?
And there's a bunch of government government U.S. assholes that don't want that to happen because they want.
There's two types of people who in there. There are full-fledged Nazi pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Then there's the pieces of shit who I think aren't actually Nazis. They just legitimately think if we disarm, there'll be actual war between the U.S. and the Soviet Union because they don't know 2 years from now there won't be a Soviet Union.
Right.
Okay.
But then it pretty much leads up to like because Gene Hackman ends up getting finding out information. Oh, and he gets help from Dennis Franz.
Yes,
which is a cop buddy of his.
Which I think they were in the service earlier. Or something.
And so they find out some stuff, but what ends up happening is Hackman gets captured, and then he finds out about the plot about assassinating the president or premier or whatever.
Yes.
And Tommy Lee Jones, and they have one more exchange. Him and Tommy Lee Jones.
It goes sort of action
movie. But the finale is pretty much because what's interesting about this movie, it's just a thriller. It's not really huge action set pieces.
No, not until the end. There's kind of an action chase.
A little bit, but
driving scene more, I would call it.
Yeah,
really
but the big finale is him just trying to race the clock to try to kill Tommy Lee Jones before he assassinates.
There's not a shootout. He finds Tommy Lee Jones, kills him, and then that's the end of that shootout. Okay, bang, bang, done. I win.
Yeah. Okay. But the way they edited and did I think the direction was really good as far as making sure that the suspense was there. So this was directed by Andrew Davis. Andrew Davis kind of started making some action films. He did Chuck Norris' Code of Silence in '85. And the movie he did right before this was Steven Seagal's first movie, Above the Law.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I actually like Above the Law. Actually. So, and Pam Grier, and this is why I think Pam Grier...
That's because Steven Seagal had the least to do with that movie.
Well, well, Pam Grier, I think, why she's in this movie is because she was also in Above the Law, which was directed by Andrew Davis. She played the partner of Steven Seagal.
Oh, she's great in this movie, though.
Yeah, but she doesn't do a whole lot, but she's good.
But she's good in everything she does.
Yeah, she's awesome. And it's
great.
People need to use her more.
She should have been a full-fledged, huge movie star instead of just movie star everybody knows.
Yeah,
a different thing.
But Andrew Davis went on to direct after this. He did Under Siege with Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones.
Wow.
And you're going to be blown away by this one if you don't know. Then after Under Siege, he directed Best Picture nominee The Fugitive. So he directed The Fugitive.
Wait, The Fugitive was a Best Picture nominee?
Yeah, 93.
I mean, it's good.
And
it's not Oscar bait.
And Tommy Lee Jones won Best Supporting Actor for that movie. So
this was kind of that.
So that was the third time working together. So he worked with Tommy Lee Jones 3 times. Doing The Package was the first one.
Well, obviously he liked working with him.
He must have.
Just call up Tom because he'll do it for me, and also he'll be good.
So as Tim said, it's a solid movie. Like I would give it a 3 out of 4 stars.
I would give it a solid 3 out of 4 stars.
It's
not perfect, but it's really good.
So it's a little convoluted, obviously, with our explanation, as you can tell.
Yeah.
With the plot. Some of the stuff was a little confusing with the real Walter Hankey, and they had this subplot with him kind of getting involved with the protests and going undercover.
Yes.
Some of that stuff, you probably could have snipped some of it out.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been
the guy, the real Hankey, that was baffling.
I mean, he was a patsy, I guess. I mean, they probably didn't.
You could literally take that character out of the movie, and then he's just using this guy's name. Yeah. You don't have to actually do anything with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably my only the weak point about it. Now this movie, there's other movies that have done this better. This isn't the best of its kind.
No.
Everyone in this movie have done better work. However, it doesn't mean that they're not trying and they're not putting an effort. It's like there's a threshold of this movie. And there's like, you know what? In order to be good, we have to reach this level. And everybody reaches the level, and that's it. They didn't exceed the level.
Gene Hackman
was awesome.
Very Gene Hackman in this, but also I've never seen him in like a military, and he does a good job at it.
Gene Hackman's really good.
Everybody is in it and is really good.
Joanna Cassidy is good. Dennis Franz is good. Tommy Lee Jones is really good. Like he's got some great lines.
He does.
Everybody pays me.
Yeah,
you don't know where I'm going. It's just he's cool.
It's weird because I'm like, is he? No, he's not really a believer in this thing. They just paid him money, so he's willing to do it.
Oh, that's all. He's a mercenary, pretty much. Yeah, this was the first movie I've ever seen him in. Tommy Lee Jones. This is the first film.
Oh, okay.
So this was my introduction to Tommy Lee Jones.
Couldn't tell you.
The second movie I saw with Tommy Lee Jones was Firebirds with Nick Cage, which is the Top Gun ripoff that came out in 1990 with helicopters instead of jets. You ever seen that?
Stop watching shitty movies unless we're watching.
I saw that 3 times at the end. Anyways,
what the hell is wrong with you? 3 times?
Yeah, I did.
I hadn't even heard of that.
That's awesome. I had the poster in my room too.
Firebird.
Anyways, so the package. No, it's package. I thought was just a really solid movie, and if you have nothing better to do, watch a good action movie.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fine movie. Like,
it's fine. I have no idea where it's streaming or anything. It might not be.
No, I mean, you can probably rent it on Amazon.
It's not a big enough name of a movie.
No, you can rent it on Amazon.
It's like filled with superstars, so it's weird.
You can rent it on Amazon for a couple bucks. You know, it's like it's worth it. Like
it'll kill a.
It's
108 minutes.
Yeah, it's competently made. So
yeah,
I thought it was good. So
there are parts of it you'd be like, that was really cool.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
But also you'd be like, why is this guy in the movie? Why is this character in this movie? That cut 10 minutes out of this movie.
Right.
Okay.
But no, it was good. Not perfect, but I was solid. Not a bad start for the day.
No,
right?
Yeah.
So
okay. Another spoiler for this episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
There's nothing in this that's as bad as some of the bad stuff we've watched.
I might disagree with
you.
There's
some bad movies in here, but I didn't want to kill myself halfway through that. Okay, but keep going.
All right, so our second movie is Millennium. Now, this was a movie I always heard of, and I believe my brother saw it, and I can't remember what he thought of it. But
did you know anything about the plot of this?
No, I knew it was involving an airplane because I saw the poster. There's an airplane in it.
Yes,
and I remember, I remember the TV spots of seeing like some metalhead face, and then I remember the TV spot of like people walking into like a portal from like stairs. That's the only images I remember.
The only thing I remembered after seeing the movie was the weird time where the airplane was like half in and half out. Yeah.
So Millennium, it's directed by Michael Anderson. Now he is actually a veteran filmmaker. Let me show you what he's done.
He's made a shit ton of stuff.
No, he directed
Around the World in 80 Days for crying out loud.
He directed Around the World in 80 Days, Best Picture winner in 1956.
One of those Logan's Run.
He did Logan's Run, yeah.
Martian Chronicles TV. Wow.
So he's pretty much in the 80s. He did either made for video or just TV stuff. So he wasn't really kind of
except for Millennium. This was a big deal movie, and it had big ads, and that news.
And this is the last theatrical film that he actually made. So
it does everything on there. It says TV. Well, there was a couple at the end that did.
Well, they went straight to video.
That makes sense. New Adventures of Pinocchio wasn't in the theater.
It did not go to, no.
And then he killed himself.
Did he kill himself?
I don't know.
So he died in 2018. Well, he lived a long.
Oh God, he was 98. Wow. He was living off the Millennium royalties.
So it's starring Chris Christopherson and Cheryl Ladd. Now, Chris Christopherson I like as an actor. Like he's always pretty good actor.
Point number 1: Cheryl Ladd. It's actually pretty damn good in this. I wish she had done some more stuff. And then I looked her up and I'm like, she actually is still doing stuff.
She was in Charlie's Angels.
Yeah. But she made a lot of movies I just had never seen.
It's funny because this movie actually takes place in Minneapolis.
It does.
Outside
of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, they were coming into Bloomington. I don't know where.
I tried to find information. I didn't find any. I'm pretty positive they did not film this.
Well, they don't need to. It's all in a warehouse.
Right. Well, when they show like the airport and stuff, I'm like, I don't think that's it.
They don't really go to the airport. They were crashing on the way to the airport. They were like they were looking for a field to land.
Right. Well, there's a scene when Chris Christopherson like leaves like the airport and like he's getting a taxi. But anyway,
he goes to a hotel at some point. Maybe that hotel still exists.
So the movie kind of opens with this flight, and there's all of a sudden, like there's like another plane, and they hit a plane.
A really bad like screen behind it. It's some of the effects in this.
Well, I mean, it is 89,
but
it wasn't
good. They're bad for 89.
Yeah. No, it probably was, and I'm sure they didn't have a lot to work with. So Millennium, so this plane, but then it like goes into like this weird like portal kind of thing, right? You're just like it just kind of disappears the plane because it like gets hit and it doesn't. Like
the plane, they hit the other plane.
Well, they hit the other plane.
They don't show any. They don't, in the opening, I don't remember them showing the portal.
Oh, they probably did.
The guy, the co-pilot goes to the back to see how everybody's doing or whatever, and they're all already dead.
Oh, right. Okay,
and
sorry, we saw like 4 movies.
They're all dead.
We saw 4 movies after this.
So here's the weird thing: the beginning of this movie, intrigued the fuck out of me.
Oh. Okay.
Because I had no idea.
Yeah. What was
I had no clue, and I'm like,
I didn't know.
I have the ability as a crotchety old man to overlook effects because I
can do that too.
Some of the best movies I've loved.
Oh, me too.
The Incredible Shrinking Man is one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
And some of those effects might hold up, but some of them are not going to hold up.
Oh,
I don't care. I'll watch that movie right now. Okay.
So Chris Christopherson plays a guy who's an investigator of crashes. So that's what he does.
Yes.
And he is there. And so while he's investigating this crash, he meets. There's this girl there running around like almost like a secretary or something.
She looks like she's a flight attendant.
Right.
But she's not in an airplane, so I'm very confused.
So that's Cheryl Ladd playing Louise. And then you got, and I don't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays the doctor comes in, and boy, all his line deliveries are super creepy.
Yeah.
The way he's talking, and he's like, hey, did you find
Chris Christopherson is pretty good, and Cheryl Ladd is okay.
Did you find anything?
Yeah.
Anything unusual?
Did you find that thing I hid under your bed? What the hell are you talking about?
It was really weird. But anyways, but there's a lot of mysterious things that we're trying to figure out what's going on with this crash, and they're trying to listen to like old tapes of like what happened and whatever from the communications. But at the same time, he's making googly eyes with Cheryl Ladd. They go back to the hotel.
Well, biggest spoiler.
Yeah.
This movie is full of weird time travel shit. Okay. But it doesn't happen for like 40 minutes.
And totally unrealistic because we all know about time travel, and this is nothing like time travel. Nothing at all like time travel.
That when we travel from 89 to the currently 2022, our future is like identical to their future. Well, okay, they're obviously 1,000 years in the future, which is apparently the only reason this movie's called Millennium.
Right. Well, this all would get me worried about paradoxes. So I was just like, well, what,
Oh, this movie's full of them.
Yeah.
With no explanation about what a paradox is or what causes them or how you stop them.
So anyways, well, they end up hooking up at the hotel or whatever.
Yes.
He's like, hey, I want, let's go out to dinner. She's like, well, no, don't go because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, I probably won't be here.
And then he leaves, and then he goes back, and she's gone. Yeah, and not only is she gone, everything is completely made up, the beds, everything.
Which, when they explain that, they don't explain that. Yeah. Like, why is the bed made? What the hell?
Yeah.
They show it happening later on, but I'm like, that does not explain anything. So, okay?
What we find out, so now what we find out, we end up finding out that Cheryl Ladd is from the future. And it's 1,000 years in the future. The future sucks, apparently, because they don't have any resources. They don't have any resources except for hair product. Boy, do they have hair product. Well, you know what?
They've all got the most fanciest, insane hairdos.
So Cheryl Ladd's hair reminds me of David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust.
Oh God, they've all got Flock of Seagulls hair.
And then for no reason at all. They don't really explain it. They have Sherman the Robot, played by Robert Joy. It's just some mechanical, weird.
It's not mechanical. It is. That is D-movie material. That guy's outfit. That dude is in a cardboard box, and they're trying to pass it off.
It was kind of funny to watch. I kind of like the design of it a little bit.
I don't hate his. They don't explain why they have a robot. But they also don't explain anything in this movie.
No. Okay? So, yeah, you don't really... And then there's another scene where when a plane crashes, they go and, they steal the bodies that were going to die so they can reproduce in a future society or something like that.
I like that idea. These people are already going to die. And
they can't reproduce for some reason.
Except for whatever. Okay? But... it's an intriguing idea. These people are already going to die.
Yeah.
Okay? So they replace them with clones?
Yeah, I don't know.
That are dead but can still walk into the plane. Okay?
Yeah. I don't know how they
only look like they're kind of beat up versions of the same people. Yeah. And I'm like, where'd they get the people from?
Yeah.
I want explanations.
I'm sure all the people in the test tubes have this.
Okay.
That's all the elders in the test tubes.
That's weirdly one of my positives. I liked the weird council because they're like freaky Cenobites, man. They are freaky, weird freakos. They live in tubes. They're fucking screwed.
But then it goes back to then they even go back to 1963, and you have and so they're stopping another plane from happening. Oh, and then I forgot to talk about Chris Christopherson.
That plane has a survivor,
right? Well, and it's a kid, but Chris Christopherson also before that finds that weird device, and then he gets zapped. Oh my God, I laughed so hard when he got zapped because his face was like, oh,
yeah, the zap thing. Okay, the thing is,
it was a stun weapon.
Until they even tried to show me anything, okay, I'm intrigued with this movie, and then they start telling me about what happened, and I'm like, boy, my answers are shitty. Okay, but man, I like the questions. But the answers are all terrible.
This was based off of a short story called Air Raid, and that could have been good.
I wonder if that explains anything.
However, I don't know, because the person who wrote the story wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would be good.
So I'm like, did he just find money? Because it's written by a guy named John Varley, which I feel like I've heard that name before. No. I used to be pretty heavy into like 50s and 60s and old science fiction.
Okay.
And so I might have read something by him. I don't know.
So then we get more of the subplexes. Then she goes back in time, to meet Chris Christopherson again, to stop him from like being zapped or whatever. And
yes, because it created a paradox.
Yes,
they always talk. There's like time quakes. In the future.
Yeah,
when
try making sense out of this movie.
And they all start shaking. Star Trek shakes. Okay, whatever. Okay, but then they figure out, because when he finds the device, she goes back to him. And he recognizes her. But she's never seen him before. So they figure out, oh, that's because he's seen you, a future version of you in his past. And I'm like, I understand what's happening there. Like, it's literally another half hour of the movie where she goes back in time and you basically rewatch a part of the the movie.
Right. Well, you know what's interesting about that? So the only thing that I thought was kind of neat, because I'll tell you about this. I didn't like this movie at all. I kind of hated it.
Okay.
So I really hated it.
I understand. We're going to talk about that in the next movie.
But oh no. So I really hated it. But the thing is, when I first watched it in the beginning, they go to the hotel and I guess they're sleeping together. And I'm like, there is absolutely no chemistry and nothing whatsoever. However, when they go back in time and then, they actually show them going to dinner.
Yeah. And that actually has chemistry.
And I'm like, there is chemistry, but the thing is,
edited out all the chemistry in the first version.
The problem is, it makes sense because it turns out to actually be that's kind of a neat little twist then. However, it made me not engage in the first half of the movie because I didn't care about the characters.
That's my weird.
If you would have had that scene early on in the movie, I would be like, I buy their romance. Because, now I kind of buy the romance, but it's too late. The movie only has like 15 minutes left. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. That was the difference for me, I guess. For the first half hour, I was very engaged because I wanted to know what the hell was happening.
Yeah.
What was going on? Because the first time he sees Cheryl Ladd's character, she literally just runs away. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he sees her again in the next scene.
Yeah.
And she's fine. And I'm like, that's just weird. What the hell's going on with her? Okay. Yeah. And I'm like weirdly interested in that. But boy, all the answers sucked.
And what's up with the guy that she talks to in the future that's kind of like her mentor with like he's got like all gray on his face and he's got
and the wheelchair guy.
Yeah, and he's got crazy mad scientist hair.
I don't know, he's dying or
What's
something.
Going on with
they seem to be mentioned, but
he looks like an alien. But I'm like, but no one else looks like him in the future. And I'm like,
I don't know. The people, the test tube people, all look.
So there is some neat stuff.
A couple of them were literally just brazen a jar.
Well, they also had like one of them had like skin. Like
I'm like, why is that Brazil lady there? But she was freaky looking.
From Brazil, yeah. That's exactly what I thought of when
she looked terrifying. Okay,
right when the mom in Brazil gets her face lifted. That's exactly what it looked like. No, so I think. I actually didn't really care for Chris Christopherson. I think he's a really good actor.
He's okay.
He doesn't have range, and he needs to find directors that know how to use him and stories that fit. And I don't think this was one of them. I think he's great in the Blade movies. He's good. Martin Scorsese used him really well in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Okay.
He's good in Stars Born with Barbra Streisand.
Okay.
But here it's just like he looked bored. He looks like he was sleepwalking through his stuff.
For some reason, I was just interested in that first half hour. So I'm like, even though it felt more like in the first half hour he was just a guy doing his job. But boy, you're right.
And Cheryl
he cannot do relationship shit.
And Cheryl Ladd towards the end of the movie, I was going like, you know what, Cheryl Ladd's actually doing an okay job. But in the beginning, when she was acting all wooden, I'm like, because she kind of acted wooden when she was just like, oh, hi, like.
She's terrified. That's weird because they sort of explain that later on by showing that she's terrified because she's like, doesn't want to do this shit, but she has to do it because it'll create a time paradox.
No.
Spoiler alert, somehow none of that works and it creates the biggest time paradox of them all and it destroys the future.
It does.
But they all live through it.
Because they go through a portal.
To save them from the dying future. And I'm like, I would like an explanation for anything that just happened.
No, the script, I think the premise, sure, it's an interesting premise, but the script I think is really bad. Most of the dialogue is really bad in the movie. I really didn't like a whole lot, except for some of the makeup effects of like, I kind of liked looking at the robot.
Yeah.
But
I hate looking at the robot.
But then trying to get the robot, like, they turned him into like a sentimental character at the end, and I'm like, and he, did he cry at the end?
He was like, looks like he was crying. My problem with the way the robot looked was they didn't cover his eyes. He had human eyes.
Yeah, it looked like a reject from Farscape or something. Yeah, it looked like a bad TV.
The reason stuff like 3PO works is you can't see any human in there. You know what I mean? So, he's humanoid, but you can't see eyes. You can't see his nose.
Well, and I think the worst part about this movie for me is that besides being bad, I was bored. I was really bored of this movie.
Okay.
So
I weirdly.
So you liked it a little more than I actually. You liked it a lot more probably because I'm going to give it half a star. I'm going to give it
a solid 1.5 stars.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a good movie.
Okay. But you're intrigued a little more than I was.
I'm intrigued about some of the stuff, and I wanted answers. I got madder and madder as I got no more answers. Especially at the end. Boy, when they walked in that portal, and then it just they mentioned the robot says to her, "You have to go with him," even though she doesn't want to go with him because she said she's not allowed to. Because you're pregnant with his child. Yeah. And I'm like, you just said she can't get fucking pregnant. Explain anything in this goddamn movie.
And then they quote Winston Churchill at the end. This is not the end. This is not the beginning of the end. It's the end of the beginning. The end. And I'm like,
what just happened?
Yeah.
Show us. Did they go in that portal and never come out? Are they trapped in a different time loop? All I want is one answer.
So yeah, that was a chore to sit through in the theater, and the other like 2 people that were in the theater with us because it was a huge box office flop. There was like 2 other people in the
weekend and nobody was there.
No one was
there.
It was
real garbage.
No. So our next movie is Let It Ride, which is Richard Dreyfuss. It's directed by Joe Pytka, who went on to direct Space Jam in 1996.
Oh, this is explaining many a thing about this movie.
So, oh man, I don't know. I can already tell that there might be a disagreement in this movie.
Okay.
So, because I already could tell you, I don't know. I could tell. Okay. Anyways, so I've never seen this movie.
I'd never heard of it.
I would remember seeing the TV spots and stuff because I was a film geek even when I was 13. So I was always looking in the paper, watching previews and stuff. There was a channel called Movie Time that turned into E! Entertainment Television. And Movie Time, Movie Time would just show movie trailers all day. And so I didn't have cable.
Trailers?
Yeah. So I would go to
That's the worst channel I've ever heard.
No, it was awesome because that's
fuck trailers.
Because it was at the internet. So that's the only way I could find out
the
movies
internet's
that were coming out.
I still don't look at trailers. Fuck trailers. Trailers are dumb. Watch
so I always wanted to know what was coming out, and that's how I would know. So I remember seeing the previews for Let It Ride, and I always liked Richard Dreyfuss. And I mean, I like popular movies too, but I was always like, oh, let's go see this weird movie that no one wants to go see.
Sometimes those weird movies are the best things.
Like
we've already discovered
there is a movie I think in '89 that came out called Thunderground that nobody knows about.
What the hell?
It went to Northtown.
Made words up.
It went to Northtown, and I can't remember the main stars or anything, but the villain was Jesse Ventura.
What?
It's a street fighting movie.
What's the movie called again?
Thunderground.
Well, I'm watching the fuck out of that sometime.
I remember not liking it, but I begged my dad that he dropped me off. Yeah, I saw by myself in the theater.
You gotta sit there at home and watch that shitty Jesse Ventura movie with a friend.
Anyways,
that's the only way to watch it.
Let It Ride. So you did documentaries, I guess. So this was his non-documentary feature review.
As I said, I try to go into these movies not knowing anything, but I had seen the poster and it's called Let It Ride, and I'm like, I figured out the plot of this movie.
So Richard Dreyfuss is in it, and I like Richard Dreyfuss, and he's kind of like a forgotten about actor, right? Like,
you're right. He was huge for like 15 years.
Yeah, and then and
then this movie came out.
No. There was a couple other ones. Like Mr. Holland's Opus was one of the last big ones that he did. Yeah, he was good. And then he kind of disappeared and kind of became irrelevant, which is too bad because I've always thought he was good.
Is he dead?
No, he's still alive.
Well, then cast him in your movie.
I would love to, yeah. Anyway, so Richard Dreyfuss plays a gambler, Jay Trotter, hot to trot. So
yes.
The movie opens, interestingly, with a conversation with Terry Garr, and then you're like, and they don't really, spell it out for you at first. You're like, what's going on? And I'm like, they're reading notes that they wrote to each other that how they're going to improve themselves. They're like,
yes,
you know, like, hey, I'm not going to gamble anymore. I'm not going to think about money, and I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to make a scene in public. I'm not going to.
I'm lying right now. That's what he says. Okay.
So you figure out like, okay, so they're estranged couple, they're married, and we're going to get a divorce, but they're trying to work it out because I don't
work it out.
That's what he kind of I'm like, okay, so he got a gambling problem, apparently, because he's talking about not gambling again. Well, as the movie goes on, you realize he's got a huge fucking gambling problem.
That's okay. Here's my biggest problem with this movie.
Okay.
I hate him.
Okay.
God damn, do I hate that guy. And then all of his friends, I somehow hate them more. And that's saying something.
Okay.
Because I fucking hate him.
Okay. And the reason why I don't hate him is because he's Richard Dreyfuss.
I hate him because he did that opening thing where I'm not going to gamble anymore. And I'm like, this whole fucking movie is going to be about gambling. And then, in the end of this movie, here's the big spoiler. It all works out.
It works out.
He's the richest human being in the fucking planet. Okay?
So
I'm like, fuck you.
So Richard Dreyfuss.
Go broke, you piece of shit.
So he's a cab driver, and one of his friends, his cab driver's coworker, David Johansen, who is Buster Poindexter, where he did the Hot, Hot, Hot song in the 80s.
God, that's nuts. I didn't realize that was
him. That's David Johansen. Yeah.
I didn't know that was him.
Hot.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Well, I
hate him.
He was the cab driver Ghost of Christmas Past or whatever in in Scrooge. Yeah, he plays the cab driver.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll watch Scrooge instead.
Yeah, but he was also in the remake of Car 54, Where Are You, 94, and that was terrible. Anyway. So
Car 54, where you can't really go shooting in high on that movie, buddy.
So David Johansen plays this cab driver that overhears some guys talking about there's this horse and he's a shoo-in. They don't really explain how they know he's going to win the race.
No, you're leaving out a big part.
Oh, that he records.
He records
all his cab
because he wants to record people who are making out or porking in the back.
Yeah. So he doesn't care about the horse thing that much.
He doesn't care about this, but sure thing.
So Richard Dreyfuss, he's going to like, hey, listen to this couple. And then he plays it and he hears some guys talking. Richard Dreyfuss is like, wait a minute. What? Horse, we got to go to the track tomorrow. So he goes to the track and then you find out he goes to this restaurant across the street from the track. And there's all these other gamblers there. And they're all played by different people. Cynthia Nixon is in it. She looks like she was like 15 in that movie. She was 19, I think, or 20 when they filmed it.
Really young, yeah.
But she has braces. And I'll go a little bit more in the supporting cast. Yeah. That was her.
Holy
that was
shit.
Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City.
Shit, holy shit.
No, I looked it up now. She was like 22 or 23.
God, I wish I didn't hate her in this movie. I hated everybody in this fucking movie.
So the whole premise is, in a nutshell, he is gonna. I'm like, okay, I'll bet $50 on that horse, and then he makes 200 some bucks or $500, and then he's like,
oh, he made like $700.
$700, and then he's like, you know what?
Here's the thing. Here's one of my annoyances. They don't explain anything about wagering. Horses. I've never done it, and I'm like, even I know they should try to explain some of this because some of this doesn't make sense if you don't know what the fuck.
Because we're board game friends and we play board games about betting all the time. That's not how it works.
Well, I think it's because we don't do horse racing and it works different.
Right,
all their numbers are based when you do horse racing. All the numbers are based on a $2.
Right.
But then when you do $50, they don't explain you got to multiply stuff.
Yeah.
Nope, it pays out this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. He's making $700. Fucking wrong.
So anyways, then he makes another bet. And it's just like, oh yeah, and so this all takes place in one day.
The second bet was because after the first one, he tracks down the people who were literally trying to run a scam because what they were doing is illegal. What he was doing was he had a horse that can run good, but he was intentionally making it run kind of shitty so it'd go to a lower grade race. And then it would win the next time. Eventually. And they would place a bunch of secret bets on it. And I'm like, oh, surprise! Those people are pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Richard Dreyfuss finds out, like, oh, I'm going to bet on this horse. So he makes a few bets, and then by the end for the big finale, we'll go into more of the stuff in the middle of the movie. But the big finale is that he's going to bet everything. And he is like, what, 69,000, right? And he's like, I'm going to make this big bet.
The last one, By that point, he's won. He's won every bet. I think he's won three.
And this is the fourth bet, and it's the big one.
But this is the seventh race. He's only bet like every other race.
Right.
Because at one point, he drives all the way home.
Yep.
Has a fight with his wife.
Yep.
Drives all the way back.
But isn't it a fight? She's drunk.
It's basically, well, they have fights on the phone.
Yeah,
they kind of have a fight.
And in person.
Because she's trying to fight, and he's like trying to make up because I'm rich now. We're fucking rich, lady. We're rich. I'm I'm good now because I have money. We'll fucking run you over with a car.
So then it all rides on this bet at the end of the movie. So apparently you had a problem with the characters being likable. So
yes. I'm trying to think. Who was the unlikable guy? The guy that would take the bets.
Oh, that's Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah, Robbie Coltrane was relatively likable.
He was great.
He was
in the movie.
But god damn it.
So
just because he's in this movie, I'm going to say I fucking hate him.
So I actually liked it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Richard Dreyfuss, like, I had so much pleasure watching Richard Dreyfuss be this jerk. I was having fun with him.
I'm like,
he was so funny. Like, I think his line delivery, because he'll talk quiet and then he'll be like, I need this horse to win. And just the way he talks, I think it's funny. And then he would do some like slapstick stuff where he's like sliding around on the ground or jumping up. And it was really, I thought, watching Richard Dreyfuss, this is a showcase for him. And and he's kind of known for, like, in Goodbye Girl, which he won Academy Award for, like, he talks really fast and he's always doing double talking. And that's kind of what he does in this movie. And I think the movie plays on his strengths as far as his line deliveries and his, and so is like the premise or the story a super great one? No, I'm not going to say that, but I really liked him as a character. And I think he's the best thing about the movie, but I also think I actually like the supporting cast around him. I thought David Johansen was funny. He's got some funny outbreaks in the movie where he just like starts screaming. Terry Garr, who's really talented, I think she was funny when she had her breakdowns in the restaurant. She's like, "Oh, you can't," and she was funny. Jennifer Tilly, she kind of has like a Marilyn Monroe type bimbo-y or whatever, as you will, she's funny. In the movie.
Okay, this is the weird thing.
Yeah,
I agree. Everybody in this movie did a good job.
Yeah,
but they only did a good job at being people
that you did want to
fucking hated.
Yeah, I get it. This
is one of my problems with some certain movies.
Yeah,
if people are unabashedly just unlikable and terrible, yet they continue to be the winner. They're the good. They're the hero of the movie. It just drives me crazy.
Well, so I feel like that. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss. So he's kind of a jerk. However, I did like the scene. Like Jennifer Tilly pretty much goes, "Let's go to bed," and he's like, "You know what? I love my wife." Like they could have easily made him sleep with Jennifer Tilly.
You forgot about the fourth wall break, but sure.
Oh my god, that was so great. Like,
okay, this is such a difference.
Oh, I love it.
I hating everything, and that only made me go like,
I love it.
I will drive my fucking car off a cliff. I hate this so much.
Yep. So there's a scene. So Jennifer Tilly's like, "Hey," so she's starting to like him because she's like he's making all the bets and stuff or whatever.
She's liking him because he has money,
right? And so she goes, "Hey, do you want to go to bed with me?" And he looks directly at the camera and he's like, "Am I having a good day or what?" Pretty much. I'm like, I'm having a good day.
Okay.
But he turns her down.
I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. If I wasn't watching this for a podcast, and I'm like, I have to watch this whole fucking movie, I would have turned it off. I would have said, I honestly already know that he's going to win in the end because this movie is.
I wasn't sure. I thought he was going to lose everything.
I was hoping. But by that point, I'm like, I hate this movie so much. It's never going to give me what I hope.
I thought he was going
to lose. Didn't give me what I hoped.
I thought he was going to lose. So, and then this, I'm going to talk a little bit more. This is this is me being a major film geek.
Nerd.
There's two characters that are at the bar, and they're played by Joseph Walsh and Edward Walsh. And
there's like two different bars.
Right. Well, the main bar
there's the skeevy bar that he usually goes to, and then there's the high roller bar that he
No. It's the bar with all the gamblers. So Ed Walsh and Joe Walsh, they are, and I think because they always appear in gambling movies, and I know so they were both in this Robert Altman movie called California Split, and Joseph Walsh also was a bad guy in The Driver in 1978 with directed by Walter Hill and Ryan O'Neal. They are gamblers, and they Joseph Walsh wrote the script for California Split. So I'm wondering, and I didn't see anything in the credits. I wonder if they were consultants on the film because they are gamblers. They're like professional gamblers. So I thought, anyways, I noticed them. And I'm like, oh, they're in this movie. That makes perfect sense. So that's my film geek knowledge that no one cares about. There you go.
Okay. But
and I saw it was kind of cool seeing that.
So that would help if I had recognized people from like people that I like.
So the direction of the film is okay. That's probably my least favorite part about the movie. I think I really liked the performances, and I thought some of the dialogue was funny, and so I genuinely laughed out loud quite a bit in this movie and mostly not necessarily because of what was being said, but how it was being said, because I love the characters or the actors' delivery a lot in this movie.
I just got madder and madder because at one point, before he makes the third bet, I think he's literally going to go make a bet, and then he inexplicably just gets arrested out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
And that stops him from making the bet. And no matter how hard
he tries. And you know what? I know he would have lost.
I know. I saw the fucking movie, Austin. Okay? But when he gets arrested, I'm like, I really hope this changes to a movie where he's now going to be... Because I'm like, who do they think he is? Do they think he's the guy who ran the scam on the first horse?
Oh,
that's what I was hoping. And I'm like, is this going to go in a different way? Is this going to become a thing where now I might actually root for the guy because he didn't actually run the scam? He used it for his own benefit. But no, you want to know what happens? Literally after that scene, never fucking mentioned again. Matter of fact, another one of those cops shows up later, and he's his best fucking friend.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the fuck is happening in this shit goddamn movie?
So, and one more thing I want to say. The reason why I also think it works for me, too, is that the direction has a kind of surreal quality to the movie. It's almost dreamlike occasionally, where they'll have these weird slow-mo things where it's like, is this real? It's like a weird... It doesn't feel real. So it feels a little bit like a fantasy. So I don't think it's supposed to be a realistic thing about gambling. It's just supposed to be...
Well, of course it's not realistic. The guy ended up with it was a magical day where he couldn't lose.
So it was
he literally...
And then he breaks the fourth wall,
One of the times he bets, he just goes and asks random people until he's... And he crosses off. If they're going to bet for it, that's wrong. That's wrong. Until he's only got one horse left, he'll bet on that one.
I like that. I liked it.
God, I fucking hated it.
Okay, wow.
When he's at home and trying to reconcile with his wife, and she tells him repeatedly, "You said you weren't going to fucking gamble. You were fucking blah blah blah." He said, and then he says, I think it's like the 5 of clubs.
Yeah.
He like cuts a deck and he cuts the 5 of clubs, and I'm like, of course he does. Now he's going to go gamble his fucking life away. Except for he's going to fucking win because this movie is fucking stupid. And now, here's the thing what I want to know. I want to see the next day because he's fucking broke again. That's all I fucking want.
Yeah.
I want him to be fucking homeless and he doesn't deserve Terry fucking Garr.
So, anyway, so what the performances, you didn't like anybody of the performances?
No, like I said, he's good. He's doing it.
Terry Garr.
I hated that she didn't actually break up with him because at the end of the movie she shows up and I'm like, how much drunk driving did she just do? This is all the stuff that I can do at this point. I hated everybody and all I can do is find horrible flaws in everybody. She just drove to the fucking place drunk. Now, granted, as far as I can tell, they live 16 inches away because he drove home and drove back and he missed maybe one race.
Maybe.
And I'm like, okay, they live real close.
My rating is I'm giving it a 3 because
I'm giving this thing. I'm trying to find anything positive.
Okay.
To not give the 0.
Okay.
I'm trying. I'm going to see.
I really liked it. So
Coltrane I didn't hate. And as a matter of fact, he does kind of like go, I like you, but I'm like, that's kind of his job. He's not supposed to say, don't place bets because I don't need a job. Okay? He's like,
actually, I'm going to remind you about something in the movie that's going to make you hate him now. Because he looks at Richard Dreyfuss like, oh, he's a great man. Remember,
0 stars.
That's your rating?
I am not kidding.
Wow.
This movie is morally reprehensible.
It took only 3 episodes for us to have a major disagreement.
Morally reprehensible. Every fucking character.
I enjoyed it,
including Terry Garr, including Jennifer Tilly.
So
there's also another hot rich chick who hits on him. They're like both playing footsie. I'm like, fuck, I hate this piece of shit.
And so I don't want to hang out with these people. it was kind of fun watching them, but that was just me. Right. Anyway, so for you.
I want bad people to be punished.
All right, well, here we go. Our next movie is Casualties of War.
Bad people getting punished! The movie!
All right, so this is our next movie. So we probably saw some lighter stuff earlier today.
These people are much worse people.
Oh, my God. So Casualties of War. It's Brian De Palma. Stars Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn. It's based off a true incident.
It has a bunch of other people who had never been in movies before and all ended up being superstars.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And yeah, so it's got John C. Reilly's first movie. Ving Rhames is in it.
God, that's right. Ving Rhames is in there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And he's really good.
Okay. Next. So Brian
Brian De Palma, happy about a movie. Which is odd because this movie is not a happy movie.
Right. Brian De Palma. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. I don't know how much you know about him, but I'm a huge
never
Brian
heard
De Palma.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, so I'm a huge Brian De Palma fan. Like I follow him, like whatever. I haven't seen his first couple movies, but Sisters, Phantom of the Paradise, Carrie, even something as insignificant as The Fury. I like with Kirk Douglas.
Weirdly, this might be the one of his movies that I've seen that I actually thought was the best movie.
Oh,
because I like Carrie,
but Dressed to Kill.
Carrie takes a while.
Blowout with John Travolta.
Can Carrie kill people now?
Blowout with John Travolta is great. Scarface. And the movie he did right before this was The Untouchables, which is fantastic. Fantastic, so good. Really so good. I feel like that De Palma, when he decided to do this movie, he's on the top of his game right now. Like, he's coming off of Untouchables, which is probably the biggest hit of his career at this point. It was huge. It was a big summer movie in 1987. Really big movie. And because a lot of his movies are more of a cult films. Like Dressed to Kill, it was successful, but it's more of a cult movie. Scarface was pretty much successful, but it's bigger now than it was when it came out.
Scarface has gone on to be like...
It's legendary.
It's legendary movie.
Right. Now, yeah. And it wasn't when it came out. It got pretty good reviews and it did pretty decent box office numbers. Okay. But it's a legend now. But yeah. So this movie... When you look back, when people talk about Brian De Palma's career, they don't really talk about this movie.
They should.
They should. Absolutely, and I'm glad we're talking about it on the show. So it's his Vietnam movie, and at this point, 1989, Vietnam films were all the rage.
Yes,
it was Platoon
boy, were they ever.
Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, and all these other like those were kind of the big ones, and then there was like Platoon Leader and Bat 21 and all these other ones coming out. Yeah. Hamburger Hill.
Oh God, Hamburger Hill!
Yeah, I've never seen Hamburger Hill.
So travel through time.
So this one is based off a true incident, like I said, and it was published in an article in the New Yorker in 1969.
Yeah, it does say in the beginning this is based on some true things. I'm like, okay, how again as it's going along, I'm like, how true is this?
Yeah,
here's the thing.
Yeah,
I have recently read an article about a thing in Vietnam that was actually an entire village that was destroyed by a military like squad, and they were just fucking destroyed, and they went to prison and stuff. And I'm like, is that what this is? Shit, this is fucking dark. And I'm like, oh, this is a completely different terrifying story. Right. Okay.
So Michael J. Fox plays a cherry or rookie, whatever. He's just in there for a few weeks or something.
In the beginning of this movie, Michael J. Fox, I'm like, I have to get through my Marty McFly stuff because he's Marty McFly.
Yeah. And it is hard to see him, even if he's doing a good job, which he is really good.
He's really good in this,
but it is still hard.
It's hard to beginning of it. He's hard to shake things, and I'm like, oh, fuck!
It's hard to shake
get Marty out of my fucking head.
Okay. So the movie opens in Vietnam, and so there's a firefight, and we'll go over more in details. I'll just do a little brief overview. There's a firefight, and Sean Penn plays his sergeant, and he saves him, from being killed. So then there's some things happen where they get ambushed, and one of their mutual friends, a brownie, dies. This upsets Sean Penn's character.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Really?
One of your friends getting killed upsets you? Weird.
Well, but Sean Penn he's this hard-ass sergeant that kind of has a lot of hatred, a lot of anger. He was probably a bully in high school. I guarantee you he was a bully in high school. And he's best served at just killing Vietnamese people because he's a monster.
VC.
So, yeah. VC. Then what happens is they have to go. They were gonna go. I'm gonna go into town to get laid, as Sean Penn says. Yeah. And the town,
when we get to some stuff, we'll talk about Sean Penn's voice.
The town is shut down or whatever, Saigon or whatever they're going to, and because Charlie's getting laid, that's not fair. VC's in town getting laid, now we can't. So they decide, or Sean Penn decides, like, hey, we're gonna go on this mission. We have to go go to this bridge. But on the way, we're going to go to this village, and we're going to...
Just a random village.
We're going to go... Yep.
Obviously, not a North Korean village.
Right.
Obviously, South Korean village. Not that it matters.
Oh, right.
Of the stuff they do.
Yeah.
Where she came from.
Right. Okay. So they're gonna grab her, this village, and they're going to have a little fun with her, as he says. So Michael J. Fox is like, I don't want to do that. So he's like talking to some of his friends, going like, hey. It's like, he's probably just joking around, right? Yeah, okay. Then there's a cast of characters that go along with them on this journey. So you got Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn. Then you got Clark, who's played by Don Patrick Harvey. He's kind of just as crazy as Sean Penn, if not crazier. Sean Penn's probably smarter than this guy.
Yeah.
I would say he's smarter, but he's just as evil.
Oh, that other guy is. And then fucking
John
garbage.
C. Reilly is just the guy that's just trying to fit in, and you feel like he's just going along to fit in, and he's a people pleaser. He's an ass kisser.
I think he actively says he's like the newest.
But he's an ass kisser, and he just wants Sean Penn to like him, And then John Leguizamo comes in, and he's kind of the new addition, replacing their friend that was killed, Brownie. We find out later too that he also just wants to be accepted. So which is unfortunate.
Well, I think mostly he just didn't want to get shot.
Yeah,
but still.
Well, Sean Penn's really frightening. So what happens? They actually do go to the village and kidnap a girl, which Michael J. Fox is like pretty upset about this and disturbed, and like, this isn't right. I can't believe you're doing this.
But the other almost in shock is too. Like, oh yeah, look what we're doing. It's fucking amazing. I love it so much. And I'm like,
and even John C. Reilly is like, hey, this is cool.
This is cool, man.
But John Leguizamo was like, hey, I don't want to rape her. And like, will you back me up? And Michael J. Fox like, yes, I will back you up. You have to back me up too. Well, then when it gets to it, when they're actually gonna gang rape this prisoner, Michael J. Fox says no, and John Leguizamo doesn't say anything, so he goes with it. So they put Michael J. Fox, who plays Erickson, and that's his name in the movie, and he goes. They make him guard and stand by while they rape this girl.
Oh yeah.
Later on the next day, and throughout the whole this whole time, she's sick. She's
she's getting sicker and sicker.
Right, and I think she was sick when they got her too, because her family was like coughing and stuff too. Then they're at the mission. They're doing the mission, and Clark is back at wherever they were at where they raped the girl. He's watching her, and they're like, "Hey, let's we need some more ammo and stuff, and go and So they have Michael J. Fox go and get the stuff from Clark. But Clark is like, hey, I want to go too. So Erickson, Michael J. Fox's character, is left alone with the girl, and he's having this dilemma about letting her go because he doesn't want to get killed, one, and he doesn't want to go AWOL or get a court-martial, or anything like that. And
that's the only reason he's hesitant. He's like, I'm gonna be deserted.
Yeah. I'm going to be a goddamn deserter, he said. Yeah.
But he starts still doing it.
Then he starts doing it, but then he gets caught, and they're like, nope, you got to come with us. Well, then what ends up happening is they're like, you know what, she's making too much noise coughing, so waste her. No one wants to waste her, but Clark ends up stabbing her, not killing her, and it's pretty disturbing. And then she gets up.
Show it. They see a shadow of it in the background.
Yeah.
And it's fucking
disturbing. And then she's stabbed, and she still stands up, and then they all shoot her except for Michael J. Fox.
Well, okay, that was a weird scene. Yeah. Because she's standing between them and to go shoot him. I'm like,
yeah.
That's not bullets will hit you, buddy. And then he starts shooting her, and I'm like, is everybody gonna die right now? What's going on? Oh no. Then the camera changes angle, and I'm like, she's standing slightly off center, and I'm like, they maybe could have done something better. So
that's the first.
Like everybody's going to shoot each other.
That's the first 2/3 of the movie. The last third of the movie is Michael J. Fox trying to get someone to listen to him about what happened.
Yes,
and also death threats, and there's even an attempt on his life by Clark.
Yes,
with the grenade and the latrine.
That's one of the weird.
Yeah,
maybe I'm like, this doesn't have to be in the movie. Because it was like, turn this into a weird action flick where he sees a grenade, dives out the window.
Right.
Whatever.
So, and then it ends up with them being tried and stuff. And the movie's bookended by on this kind of like a subway or train or whatever, and Michael J. Fox is like, and this is obviously he's back from the war, but it's in the 70s sometime because you see the newspaper says like Nixon being indicted or whatever like that, and or resigning.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's in the 70s somewhere around the early 70s, and Michael J. Fox wakes up from what appears to be a nightmare, and he sees this Vietnamese woman who looks.
She saw her right in the beginning too.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean in the beginning of the movie. It's a bookend, and he sees her, and then he goes back to sleep. But then at the end of the movie, he like wakes up and he's like, she forgets her scarf,
like a scarf or something.
And he's like, "Hey, could you?"
He runs out. Oh man, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And she's like, "Do I remind you of someone?" Because he says something.
Yeah, that was also like, what? Nobody says that.
Yeah.
Oh, do I have?
And that was. And I looked it up.
Obvious Vietnam soldier.
And I looked it up. That is the same actress.
I was wondering.
Her, yeah.
I was going to ask you that.
So
okay.
All right. So
I'm like, am I just a bad person because I think they look alike?
So about the movie. So
luckily same person, so I'm not quite as bad.
Now you've never seen it. So I've seen this movie many times. It's probably been 15 years since I've seen it. When I was like going to film school and stuff, I was really into Brian De Palma. So I've seen this movie like at least a dozen times. So I know a lot. I can quote a lot of the movies and stuff, and I love this movie. I think it's really good, and I was wondering if it was still going to be good, and I still think it holds up really well. What I love about Brian De Palma is that he is one of the most visually interesting filmmakers ever in history, in film history. Like, he's so good. He does a lot of long takes. He does a lot of weird things. Like in the beginning of the movie, when Michael J. Fox is like walking around in the jungle, and a mortar goes off, and then he slips and he falls into like the tunnel,
like in one of the VC tunnels. Yeah.
And the camera.
They mentioned like earlier too that they think, is there a tunnel under us?
And the camera pans down.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And you see the tunnel and all the people, like an ant colony, right? Yeah. And it's so cool. And the movie's loaded with stuff like that. Even the scene that you said that didn't need to be in the movie, when they put the grenade in the latrine. It's a point of view shot from Clark, so it's just like he's stalking him. I love that he used the same technique with
the problem. Some of the weird stuff with that scene is he's like got his lighter and he's doing this thing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, he's never done anything like before in the entire fucking movie. What are you talking about?
It's just movies. It's Brian De Palma manipulating the audience.
It's like you know. But I'm like, see it. And I'm like, okay, what's that gonna do? Because that's never happened before in this movie. It seems like make it happen earlier in the movie.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it feels more natural.
I see that. Across the board, I think the filmmaking is fantastic. The cinematography is terrific. I love Ennio Morricone did the music. I mean, we know him from The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. He also did the music for The Untouchables. The music is great. It's a lot of pan flutes. Really powerful, especially the scene when she gets up after being stabbed and is walking on the train. Like, the music is playing, and it's a heartbreaking scene. It's so good.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I only want to talk about things I have problems with. Okay, Sean Penn's weird accent is terrible.
Oh, I actually liked him a lot.
It's like, I mean, he's really good in it.
No, I think it's fine.
His voice is like, he a fucking cartoon character? This is terrible.
So Brian De Palma is the one thing that people can't accuse Brian De Palma of is subtle. He's not. He's not a subtle director.
This movie doesn't have to be subtle.
He's grandiose. And that's why I think within the universe of this Brian De Palma Vietnam movie, I think Sean Penn's performance works for me.
Okay.
And because
it doesn't not work. I just have to comment that it didn't happen like every time he talked. Yeah. But periodically he'd say something and I'm like,
I actually love him a lot in this movie. And it's just
voice.
Like he's so despicable. And I obviously hate his character, but as like someone that's performed and acted before, it would be fun to play something like this. Like, that was easy. That was motherfucking easy. You know? And the scene when, one of my favorites is the scene of the movie when he's trying to convince everyone to go, and he's like, "You're taking your turn in there." And he's just like, "Oh, you taking a stance with me? Well, he's got a weapon. I got a weapon. Clark got a weapon. Clark got a knife."
Austin, you trying to do the voices and convincing me the voice isn't terrible.
Oh, I think it's funny.
He is just. Sean Penn's better at the voice than you are.
No, it is.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. But no, his performance is really good in the movie, and I think Michael J. Fox is terrific. John C. Reilly's really good.
Oh yeah, everybody in this movie is phenomenal.
Ving Rhames plays their lieutenant, and he kind of wants to wipe this under the rug too.
Yes,
he has a great monologue when he talks about being bored, and he's like, "I popped my head out and I shit." I says. And it's such a great monologue. He's great.
Everybody in the movie is phenomenal.
Dale Dye, who was an actual soldier, he's in the movie playing the captain, and he's the guy towards the end of the movie when he's Ving Rhames' superior that he talks to, and he's got like the white hair. He's in all the military movies, and he's like, "Are you on my frequency, soldier?" And he's like, "Come on, he's 20 goddamn years old." You know, he's good.
I don't want to ruin that kid's life because of the horrible murder and rapes he committed. I do want to ruin his life.
Okay? But the one thing is when people talk about this movie, they talk about Michael J. Fox or Sean Penn or whatever. I really, and I can't pronounce her name, but Thai Thu Lee is phenomenal in this movie, and so I don't think she gets talked enough about when people talk about this movie. She is so good in this movie.
I'm like, God,
how could you?
She's so legitimately, absolutely terrified, and I'm like, fuck, is she good in this movie?
She's very good, and I don't think she gets
in the end when she plays the.
Oh, she's fine. Well, her voice was dubbed by Amy Irving.
Oh, for that end, she doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that helps.
Yeah,
because that whole thing. Do I remind you of somebody? I'm like, nobody would fucking say that at this point. Yeah. They would say, "Get away from you, fucking creepy stalker! You've been me for hours."
But yeah, she's so good in the movie, and I think people just because she's so convincing that you almost take her for granted.
Yes,
but she's so good. Like
you're right. You know something?
She should have been nominated for this movie. Like
she was so good. Because I am like, you're right. Because until you said that, I'm like, I hadn't thought about it. But you're right. She is.
Yeah,
phenomenally good in this movie.
Yeah, and the rape scene. I mean, it's brutal. They show
it's brutal.
It's really hard to watch. Yeah, it's not an easy film to watch. This is definitely not a light film.
This movie is it's.
But De Palma, I think, handles it really well. I mean, obviously he's making it grandiose, and he's just like throwing it in your face because that's what De Palma does. I could see people going like, it's a little too much, but I didn't mind that. I liked that.
Like I said before, though, I went into this, I had no idea. You had mentioned last time something about it being the follow-up to Untouchables.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. Is it like a sequel to Untouchables
well, it's not
or something? No,
Untouchables is fun. This is not a fun movie.
Yes, it's not. It's not. But... So literally it starts out, I'm like, oh, Vietnam. I didn't know anything about this movie.
You didn't even know it was a Vietnam movie.
I didn't know any. I didn't know Michael J. Fox was in this fucking movie. I didn't know Sean Penn was in this movie. I think,
because when people talk about the Vietnam movies from the 80s, they talk about Platoon and Full Metal Jacket. I think they should easily talk about Casualties of War.
I think this is up there.
Because I think it's that good. I think it's good.
I think so.
For me, and I'm probably going higher than you, but it's 4 out of 4 for me. Like, I love this movie. I've always liked it. I think it's
a
3.5
because of some of my weirdness of like that grenade scene was just like they don't punish him for that. That horrible that attempted murder, which I'm like, first of all, I don't think that happened.
No.
Because you don't have the latrine blow up, and then he goes into the building next door. And
so
starts
obviously
people,
things were changed.
I think that explosion that happened 10 feet away would have distracted people. Yeah. Okay.
Now I did like that confrontation right after that when he takes the shovel to Clark.
I'm very happy.
So I watched some interviews with Brian De Palma, and there's a documentary called De Palma, and he goes movie by movie about his movies. After I watched Casualties of War, I went and rewatched the Casualties of War section because I wanted to see if I could talk about anything. And there's a couple of interesting things. So Sean Penn isolated himself from Michael J. Fox, so they would have tension on the set. He never talked to him on the set, and in fact, at one point, Michael J. Fox was having a hard time when he confronts them and when he hits Clark with the shovel. Michael J. Fox was having a hard time. He couldn't get angry enough. Sean Penn literally shoved him, and then they filmed it. Like, he shoved him, and then he got back up, and then they shot the scene.
Sean Penn helped his method.
Oh, yeah. And then, also, at the end of the movie, one of the last things is after Sean Penn gets sentenced, which he gets one of the least sentences in the movie.
Yeah,
which is,
I think it's like...
because he's a war hero or something, probably.
It's because... I can't remember.
Clark got the most.
He got the stabbing.
Yeah.
So he got the most. Although I will admit, I looked up stuff after this. None of that shit's
no, right.
They all got out like a couple years later.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, awful. That makes not surprising.
It's like at the end of the movie, I'm like, this movie was phenomenal. And I looked up stuff, and I'm like, this makes me madder.
But when Sean Penn when Sean Penn passes Michael J. Fox, he whispers something into his ear.
Any idea do you know what it is?
Yep. He said television actor.
What?
He said because he was trying to get a reaction
out
of Michael J.
Fox. Back to the Future. Fuck you. It's better than all your shitty ass movies.
So it was great. And then Brian De Palma says that, and then Brian De Palma laughs in the documentary, and then he's like, "Oh, good old Sean." It's just like
unsurprising. Sean Penn, kind of a piece of shit. Okay? Yeah. Kind of a jerk.
So, but he's a method actor, and so it made sense that they did that in the movie.
But method, you don't mention the fact that you're currently acting. Then, okay. You can call him Pretty Boy Floyd or something. Say, like, hey, pretty boy. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this movie is just it's a phenomenal film, and I think
television actor. Okay, well, that's fucking funny as fuck.
It's funny. I think it's funny.
That's funny as fuck.
He's good, and he worked with Sean Penn later. Not Michael J. Fox, but Brian De Palma did in Carlito's Way with Al Pacino.
Okay,
which is another great movie. So yeah, I think this is one of Brian, because usually even myself, when I talk about Brian De Palma's films, I'm talking about Blowout or Scarface or Untouchables. And I don't say this one enough. And after watching it again, I'm like, I got to start talking about this movie more because it's so good. It's
okay. Of the movies we've watched for other podcasts so far, miles above the other ones.
I think it's the best. Yeah,
and we watched some. Okay, we watched some pretty damn good.
No, there's some good movies. Yeah,
but no, this is
like Odd Couple is fantastic.
Odd Couple is fantastic. I'm still giving this 3.5 because I'm a jerk.
But no, I love this movie. So, anyways. We go to the drive-in. So we went to the drive-in.
Yes. Luckily, there was a period of time between the end of that movie and the next movie, to the drive-in, which is a much. Oh, like I don't because if you literally watch that and then 10 minutes later you want to watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, so you're never gonna be happy.
So Casualties of War, we're like, we got to see something. So we see this double bill of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Turner and Hooch. So some rather light fare in the movie. So Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, obviously, big summer blockbuster that came out 1989. Directed by Joe Johnston, who went on to direct The Rocketeer. He did Hidalgo with Viggo Mortensen. Jurassic Park 3 he directed. Jumanji.
Did you just say Jumanji?
Jumanji, sorry.
I'm gonna fucking throttle you.
The Wolfman, which really wasn't his fault because he kind of took it over from another director.
Well, Wolfman tried stuff.
Right, so but he wasn't the first director either.
Really?
No, it had production.
What the fuck is not safe for work?
I don't know what that is. It's Jesus.
Unrated. Apparently, it's some thriller.
Maximing. Okay.
Well, if we ever travel to 2014, which we probably won't.
No, I'm not going. No. That's like yesterday for me. It's But anyways, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's big summer movie. I saw it in the theater, probably opening weekend. It's one of those.
I guarantee I saw this as early as I.
You know what's interesting? This movie did pretty well in the theater. It opened the same day as Batman. Like, I can't believe that this movie did as well as it did.
Wow, a movie that they made sequels of came out that day. Wow. I mean, looking at the numbers on here, it only had a budget of 18 million.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what Batman's budget is, but it's much higher than that.
Oh, it was. Well, it was.
But
probably
it made well over 10 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so it did.
It did very well, yeah.
It did very solid.
So Rick Moranis, and most people, I'm going to say most people listening to this podcast probably have seen it or at least heard of this movie. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I don't know. We might end up with some weird podcast. Weird Gen Z.
I'm not going to go see Disney's.
I mean, maybe my niece will listen. She's probably never seen it. Actually, she probably has Disney Plus. She probably saw it.
Oh,
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So before talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it actually came with had a cartoon short beforehand, which was Roger Rabbit.
The secret 7th film.
Roger Rabbit in Tummy Trouble. It's a 9-minute short.
Yes, it is.
And it's based off Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the original movie, starts off with a cartoon short, and then it reveals that it's this big world.
I honestly believe the first minute of this short is identical to the Roger
kind
Rabbit
of
one.
Because it starts with so Tummy Trouble, it starts with Roger Rabbit babysitting baby Herman, and the mom's just like, I'm gonna send you to the science lab, whatever.
When they made these things, they went all in on that animation. The animation is
so great,
fucking phenomenal. The women's feet are so freaking.
What's interesting because it's that rounded animation,
like stubby feet.
It's that rounded animation that the early 1940s Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Yes, yes, they
not like the 60s, 50s ones, but like the early 40s, and it looks so good, and they do such a good job. But also, they put a modern twist on the animation too, so it's like a mix of the modern animation, but also the rounded.
This is before the Disney animation, or right about when Little Mermaid came out. Was that 88 maybe?
It was going to come out in 3 months later.
Oh, okay.
So this is right when it was about to happen, because Disney at this point, their animated films were like they were good, but they weren't doing well. Fox and the Hound was a flop.
Yeah,
great Mouse Detective didn't do a whole lot. Yeah. Oliver and Company didn't do a whole lot.
I think
Black Cauldron was a flop.
Was the only one of those I might have ever seen.
You never seen Fox and the Hound? So good. We're going back in time. All right, 81.
I mean, I don't have to travel through time to see all my movies.
That's true. But Baby Herman swallows a rattle. So the hospital, they go to the hospital, and there's just hijinks of Roger Rabbit.
I think that's literally
that's all you gotta do. Yeah.
Hijinks. The rattle ends up in Roger, and ends up back in Herman, ends up back in Roger. Whatever. It's and
there's just crazy. And there's a cameo. Droopy has got a cameo as the elevator attendant, which he was in also the Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Jennifer Rabbit. Jessica Rabbit. Yep. Jessica Rabbit shows up without a speaking role, but then
she talks at the end of the.
She talks, but it's not.
I don't think it's Kathleen
But it's not canon to the story of the short.
So it's. It's fun. I like it. It's a fun cartoon. I laughed.
Oh,
it's great. It's fun.
I mean, it didn't hurt that we had seen Casualties of War.
Oh, this was perfect right after.
I'm so happy. Oh my God, Roger Rabbit's gonna make me so not want to cry anymore.
No, so it's Tummy Trouble. It's Roger Rabbit. It's awesome. It's good.
Yes, it was a blast.
The animation's great.
If you have Disney Plus, watch the shit out of it.
Yeah, it's really
kids,
good.
It's only like 3 of them.
There's 3 of them, 3 shorts on there.
That's weird.
Roller Coaster Rabbit, which was before Dick Tracy, and Trill Mix Up, which I think was before Far Off Place.
This is well after they were doing animated shorts before stuff, and I think literally people were like, huh? Because they haven't
done it in a while. Yeah,
the younger generation at that time didn't expect it.
Yeah. No, it's good. So, and they really advertised it. It was on the poster. It says Tummy Trouble. Like it was
right there on there.
Yeah, cool. It was right on there. They didn't do that with Dick Tracy or Far Off Place. It was
that
just there.
Is odd though.
But they were advertising
this. One's the most kid friendly of those movies.
And also this came out less than a year.
Look at that poster though.
Yeah,
that poster.
The poster's
really
great.
Cool.
So the poster is, and if you have a computer by or something, Google it. It's the Rick Moranis is facing the dog.
Posters, so right. There's at least one of them.
Yeah, well, the original theatrical poster, and it's Rick Moranis and the dog, and his dog looking at each other, and the kids are crossing nose to nose.
Yes,
onto from the dog onto Rick Moranis.
The kids in that poster are significantly larger than they are in the movie.
Yeah.
God damn, they are tiny.
They're tiny.
Like they are so fucking tiny.
Like a fingernail, probably. A lot smaller than that, probably.
I think they might be small. Yeah. They're literally hard. They have to use magnifying glasses to even see what's going on when they finally catch them.
So this one's easy to talk about. Rick Moranis plays Wayne Selinsky.
He plays Rick Moranis.
Yeah, he's Rick Moranis. he's a scientist and he's an inventor. And in fact, a lot of the inventions reminded me of the inventor in Gremlins. Gremlins had all the crazy inventions.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of reminded me of that, like a family. They got the lawnmower.
It's got a Doc Brown thing going too.
Right. He has the shrinking machine that he's working on, but he keeps on blowing up apples. He has some kids that run in with his neighbors, and one of the neighbors hits a baseball into their house and hits the machine, and the machine starts working.
It blocks the laser on the machine.
Yeah.
And then why is there a laser on the machine?
That's right.
Whatever.
Anyway,
this is not a movie to analyze.
No.
Okay? They literally get shrunk down to minuscule size.
And so the kids go up there to get the ball, and the 4 kids. So there's Rick Moranis has 2 kids. A little nerdy kid.
Yeah.
Probably
the youngest one.
Probably like 9 or whatever. Probably 8 or 9.
I would say he's almost certainly the youngest of the 4.
Yeah, he is.
She's probably the oldest.
Teenager. Yep. She's probably like 16, probably 15, 16, and then there's the neighbor kids, and the neighbor is played by Matt Frewer.
I don't know. We have this internet page right here.
Frewer, yeah, and he's known for being Max Headroom.
Yes.
Well, and yeah, so
he's good in the movie as a piece of garbage.
Oh, right. So, anyways, so he has 2 kids too, and they're probably more like 12 and like 14 or 15.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that he's 12.
Okay,
I can't tell.
So,
the kids' ages.
And Jared Rushton is one of the kids, and Jared Rushton was Tom Hanks' best friend in Big.
That's where he's from.
Yeah,
God damn it!
Jared
I should have. I knew it. I knew it.
And he was also a kid in one of the kids, Kurt Russell's kids in Overboard.
Okay, I haven't seen that in forever. I saw Big last year. So yeah, and that's where I knew it.
So, anyways, they get shrunk. They're up there, and Rick Moranis comes back, and he destroys his machine or starts hitting it and stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to work destroying it very hard.
And he sweeps up the kids into the garbage and puts them out in the yard. So now they're trying to get back to the house. So it's like a long journey, but since it's it's a whole yard away, it's like they say 3 miles, but it's probably more like 10 miles or something. They have to walk.
They're trying to figure it out. They give us some numbers. But he also actively says, we're about a quarter-inch tall on you guys. I'm like, you guys are like a millimeter tall.
Yeah,
you guys are so tiny.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're half an inch. So they run into a bunch of stuff like there's butterflies and there's bees and there's an ant that they befriend and there's a scorpion, and then they just try to make it back to the house so Rick Moranis can unshrink them, and that's the premise in a nutshell. The premise of the film.
The oldest two of the kids fall in love.
Oh yeah, there's a little subplot there with that.
Oh yeah, they get picked on by the other ones.
Yep. And then there's some weird thing with Matt Frewer, and they're talking about him. He wants to go. They're trying to go camping, and then his friend comes, and that was weird.
Yes, they're going to go
camping and fishing.
Fishing, yeah, but then he brings so much stuff, and he's it's like camping is involved. So and by camping, I mean they have a Winnebago. That's just fucking cheating.
When I saw this,
it's just a tiny house you drive around in.
I probably seen this movie. When it first came out, I probably watched it a lot. In the first year or two it came out because I rented it and my little sister. So I've probably seen it like 10 to 15 times within like the first 2 years this came out.
I probably saw it.
I saw it once in the theater, maybe twice
in the 90s or so. I probably saw it that many times, but I think we both while watching this were like, I don't remember that.
I haven't seen this. It's been at least 20 years since I've probably seen this movie.
Yeah, I had vivid memories that all four of them got shrunk at the same time.
They didn't.
They do not get shrunk at the same time.
No, it's 2 and 2. Yeah,
I remember them all getting shrunk at the same time, but also they all get embiggened at the same time. So I guess that's just. You can see that in your head.
So I'm just going to see how this holds up. It holds up mostly pretty well. Well, I think the best part about the movie, and I think you'll agree with me, is the sets are fantastic.
Oh,
the sets
are so cool.
They're really cool.
It literally just looks like they do so much fun to be
like in the yard, and then they have the tree, the grass, and they have like there's slides, and
they're sliding down on blades of glass.
When they're getting swept up, and just the bristles, like they had to build all that stuff with the bristles of the broom.
It was so cool.
It looks really neat.
They jumped on the dog, and they had to grab the dog's hairs. And I'm like,
and then obviously when he's in the cereal and he's with the Cheerios, he's in there.
Yep. He's in a thing and there's a bunch of Cheerios. And I'm like,
they had to build all that stuff.
It looks like he's in a thing of Cheerios.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, some of the green screen or blue screen doesn't, obviously when they're riding on the bee, there's like, okay.
There's periodically where there are like stop motion humans.
Oh yeah.
Splits.
The ant is cool, and the ant battle with the thing's cool, and when the scorpion comes and starts attacking,
scary.
And when he's hiding in the Lego piece, which they had to build that too. So I think
I'm like this.
So I thought that all that stuff was great. The movie also opens with an animated sequence that I didn't remember.
Oh yeah, the opening credits are animated.
It's an animated sequence.
There was so much stuff I didn't remember in this movie.
The music is by James Horner, but it sounds a lot like Danny Elfman. When he's like making when they're showing Rick Moranis for the first time, like doing his inventing stuff, the music they play sounds a lot like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, like do 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 do.
Because we were in a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
We talked plenty during this movie.
Oh yeah, we did
because we were alone.
We sure did talk during the movie.
We talked plenty. When you said that, I'm like, yeah, I recognize it. I would not have immediately known it immediately like you did.
Right. That was interesting. But you know what's funny? Now I disagree with this, but I think it was Gene Siskel, but it could have been another critic, said on one of their shows, not really relating to this movie, but he says any movie that starts with an animated sequence is going to be terrible. Like he always said that.
What?
Yeah.
So there's other ones.
That. There are. I kind of started with
a mad world.
Mad World, and then obviously
if you got 3.5 hours to kill.
I actually really like that movie. But,
it's good.
And then the Pink Panther movies obviously did that. But there was a lot of movies, and they did this a lot. I would say from the late '80s to the early '90s. If like the movie Madhouse with John Larroquette and Kirstie Alley from 1990. Yeah. That has an animated opening sequence. That movie's terrible.
I think Stay Tuned.
Yeah,
has an animated sequence.
I actually kind of like Stay Tuned.
I don't completely hate it, but I'm pretty sure if I watch it again, I'd be like, I'd have to be in the perfect mood to not go like, ugh.
So, what works in this movie are the effects and the adventure aspect of the film.
Yes.
For me, the comedy didn't hold up as much.
There's some groaners and clunkers. The weird stuff that I thought
I didn't even think it was that funny though. The whole movie in general is not that funny.
Very targeted at children funny.
Well, then they had
whole French
French thing, French
and
class.
It literally ends with that. I'm like,
that was not a good ending.
Get rid of the last 10 seconds of this movie because it was really shitty. Well, okay. And some of the more interesting things.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a ton of Chekhovs in this. Okay.
Okay.
There's the Chekhovs, the lawnmower.
Yeah.
There's the cat, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
The cat is there, but the cat never does anything to him.
Yeah.
Periodically, you think it's going to.
Yep.
Then it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
But yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's cool that you keep thinking it's going to happen, and then it has no bearing on the movie.
No.
It might show up in the third one. For all we know, the cat could eat them all.
So
and they all shrink themselves.
The thing that actually surprised me when I was watching it again was, because when you think of the movie, the first person I think of is Rick Moranis.
Yes.
He, back in, like, he did Ghostbusters. His character is so funny. Spaceballs, Little Shop of Horrors. He doesn't do a whole lot that's really funny
it's not
in this
about
movie.
him, though.
It's
about the Shrunken Kids.
But it's all advertised as a Rick Moranis movie.
Some of the stuff that is funny involves him, like the apparatus where they're hanging.
Yeah, when they're hanging, they're trying not to touch it.
That stuff's funny.
The funniest
part
could
be anybody, though.
The funniest part for me was when he was climbing the fence and he's trying not to.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't want to step on the kids once he realizes that they could be in the yard.
Yes.
When it wasn't doing the adventure stuff, I was just kind of like, it's okay. It's an okay.
But the adventure stuff is what the movie is about.
Yes.
And that stuff's good.
Yeah. I think so. So
the neighbors, I mean, they have to get to an hour and a half.
Matt Frewer in this movie, his delivery. So this is before.
He's really good.
You know what? No, who did he remind you of anyone? Because he reminded me of someone.
He reminded me of
the way he delivers
the
his
character
lines.
he played in Star Trek Next Generation.
The way he talked, he reminded me of Jim Carrey. He talked like Jim Carrey.
He does.
This is before Jim Carrey was Jim Carrey. This was in '89.
Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey.
Like, I could totally see Jim Carrey in this part, in this character.
Good. I mean, he had to be 10 years older at the time.
Because
he was
when he was just like,
when
he was doing that, when he was like, that Russell, the way he was like doing his lines, and I'm like, I'm getting a Jim Carrey kind of vibe.
I guess. I mean, I just like Rick Moranis. He wasn't very Rick Moranis-y in it.
No, he was just kind of. It could have been anybody.
It could have. Really. It could have been anybody.
Where in like Ghostbusters, that couldn't have been anybody. That had to have been Rick Moranis. Dark Helmet. That had to have been Rick Moranis. Yes. Here, this could have been anybody.
He's just playing the dad.
Yeah,
I'm the dad.
Yeah, it was
in the beginning of it.
Kind of a thankless
There's a
role.
little Rick Moranis stuff where he's like trying to do the invention shit, and then he makes his presentation.
Yeah.
But not even that is super Rick Moranis.
No. The kids are pretty good.
He's not the actual star of the movie, though.
No. The kids are pretty good. The kids.
Yeah.
The kids are pretty good. We were talking about the kid that played the older kid, Russell.
Yeah.
He's Thomas Wilson Brown. He had some he's weird looking.
Well, in the beginning, maybe with some weird lighting, because after a while, I'm like, maybe I just got used to him. But it seemed like, is that good?
He was 17 or 16 in the movie, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. In the beginning of it, I'm like, if that guy had a really dark life, because he seemed really, maybe he was just good because he was supposed to be sad.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just good because he was supposed to be sad in the beginning. By the end, he's not sad because now he's got a hot girlfriend.
But he's weird. He looked like he was wearing eyeliner, and he had the weird Kurt Russell tangled cash hair. So we were talking about that. Yeah.
Oh God, that hair he had the most 80s hair. And
Absolutely.
the movie is full of 80s hair. And that guy's got the most feathered hairdo ever.
That was funny because he gets really dirty in the movie, but he already looked dirty even before
they all get dirty. They all get dirty.
In the film. But yeah, there's legitimate cool adventure scenes with when it wasn't doing that stuff, it was just kind of a generic, almost a TV movie a little bit. I got a TV movie vibe from the non-adventure scenes.
Yes. But the adventure scene is with the kids. And I'm like, if I was a kid, which at the time I was 21, I still watch it and I like it fine.
Yeah.
If I was 12, that would have been one of my favorite things in the world. And I wouldn't even remember that there were adults in the movie. Because that's that's what it's like when you're 12.
I remember liking it. Like I mean, I didn't think it was never one of my favorite movies, but I'm like, 12. I was 13. I was 13. And I thought, yeah, this is fun. I like this movie. And of course, they had the sequels on the I Blew Up the Kid.
Yes.
And made for video. Honey,
in that one, and the kid gets huge.
I remember liking that, but I don't know what I think of it now.
I don't remember anything about it.
And then Honey,
it's going to be just like this. There's going to be the stuff with the other people, and then there'll be a giant toddler wandering around. That's all you're here for.
Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. I've never seen that as a made for video.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, never seen it either. They're all Disney Plus.
Being it's made for video in the 90s, is it even widescreen?
No, I don't. It might
probably
not be
3x4.
It might be, yeah. And I don't know if I'm being too harsh, but so I don't hate this movie at all, and it's certainly watchable, and I love the sets. I was just a little disappointed that the comedy portion of it didn't hold up for me.
Yes.
So I give it it's solid 2.5. I can still recommend the movie with reservations, but I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 4.
2.5 sounds like what I would give it to.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I guess if I think of it as if I was when I was 12, I'd give it a solid 3.
Yeah,
maybe.
Sure. And
I would love.
I think I did when I was a kid. I think when I was a kid, I did.
I would remember and think about because I wouldn't give a shit about the rest of it.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, I think I did give it a 3.
The stupid neighbors and stuff. I wouldn't have cared about that.
Yeah,
I'm like, who cares? They get shrunk another in the thing.
Right.
I would have looked in my backyard. Which, one weird thing about this movie, that backyard does not need to be mowed. Here's plot point. The boy got to mow that backyard. And I'm like, that's fucking AstroTurf. It's fully mowed. Okay,
it looks pretty mowed, and I know that because
doesn't look any different after they mow.
My dad keeps his lawn long, so the grass is long. So I'm like, that is not.
It was. I think it was.
It's just a plot.
It doesn't look like it needs to be mowed. Now, granted, when the mowing does happen, because there's a lawnmower and they almost die.
That's a neat sequence.
That's neat. It's neat. Yeah. It's neat as fuck. Yeah. One of the inventions, which apparently this invention was made by the kid.
Oh, the remote control lawnmower. Yeah.
Just using the invention his dad made. I don't know.
But yes, so Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was a nice little breezy thing to watch after Casualties of War. So
yeah, I mean that might be.
Tummy Trouble's probably better than the movie, but I like Tummy Trouble better.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that we saw those after Casualties of War.
Yeah.
Because we saw everything, and then the last time was Casualties of War. I'm like, I'd be so sad.
Yeah. We come back home from our time machine like all crying.
Can we just watch some fluff? Okay, let's watch.
And we did. And speaking of fluff, our last movie is Turner and Hooch. Turner and Hooch, also of course '89, directed by Roger Spottiswoode. So look, there's the poster. Look at that.
That poster's awesome.
So it's Tom Hanks team with the dog.
I had never seen this movie.
So I saw it on opening day because it was I remember it being July 28th, in '89, and because it was my sister's birthday, July 20th, and she was 5, and I took her hey, for my, that's what I want to give my sister for her birthday present is I'm going to take her to go see a movie. So we saw Turner and Hooch, and I remember liking it.
She was 5, and this has a dog in it. She loved it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. A cute dog that barks. And
so my parents dropped us off, and we watched it, and so I was 13. I'd probably see this maybe 3 or 4 times all the way through. I've probably seen it on TV and stuff, like bits and pieces. It's probably been at least 20 years since I've actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I
had known about the screaming, but I didn't know it was going to happen that much.
Tom Hanks
screams a lot in this movie.
Yeah. Well, before we watched it, I told Tim, I'm like, okay, this is my impersonation of Turner and Hooch. And I just went, no. That's the movie. But there's more than that, obviously. So in a super nutshell, it's a buddy cop movie with Tom Hanks and a dog. But it's a little more than that. Okay,
here's the thing. That's what I thought going in. That the dog was a cop dog. Not really.
No.
The dog is a witness.
It helps, though. They do team up.
They lie and say it's a cop dog.
Yeah.
But that dog was not trained.
So Tom Hanks is kind of like Jack Lemmon in The Odd Couple. He is a neat freak. He's a clean freak. In fact, he's not a detective. He's an investigator. They make that very clear. In the movie.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I was just like, I didn't know there was a difference.
Is that
actually
a small town thing?
Yeah. Apparently so small town in California. And he's going to move to Sacramento in the next week to do big crimes or whatever. And he's training in another guy played by, and I can't pronounce his name. It's Reginald,
played by our second typecast cop character,
Reginald Vell Johnson, who was in Die Hard as the Bruce Willis cop, and Family Matters.
And I think there's at least one other movie that he also played a cop.
Oh, I'm sure there's got to be. Well, Die Hard 2.
Well, he was Die Hard 2. You're right.
But yeah, so he's training him in. Look, they call him detective, but in the movie it says inspector.
Investigator.
So we're
fucking wrong. It's investigator.
Right, and we're looking at the Wikipedia page, and it says Detective Scott Turner. But they said, nope, I'm not a detective. I'm an investigator.
Maybe detectives underneath or investigators underneath detective. Maybe, but at the end he's a detective.
I don't know,
because
that would mean he was.
Because spoiler alert, he doesn't die. Okay.
Tom Hanks is, and you get to see him show how uptight he is, because Reginald Vell Johnson is eating a cookie or a muffin,
yes,
or something in the car, and he's literally taking a shop vac and cleaning and vacuuming
the crumbs. I need to get one of those,
which is pretty funny actually. Because I didn't know that was happening. I'm like,
I laughed a lot. Yeah, I laughed a pretty good amount in this movie.
I laughed more than I remember.
I was smiling the whole time because
it's
just Tom Hanks is good. When Tom Hanks is on and wants to go full Tom Hanks, you're just
well. And this is Tom Hanks before he was the actor Tom Hanks. This is before he did.
He does act in this though.
Oh no, absolutely no.
There's a couple of times when he full-fledged acts in this movie.
Big, which is the movie he did before this, he acts in that movie too, and he was actually nominated for that movie too.
Was he nominated?
Yeah, he was.
Big? I mean, there is like the cool scene in Big where he's like crying in the hotel.
Oh yeah,
because I mean that looks terrifying.
that apartment, yeah. So he's friends with this one guy in this small town, this old guy. What's his name in the movie? It was Amos. John McIntyre, who is a great...
After you're done with your synopsis, we're going to scroll down because I just saw a link with some other movie in
okay. So John McIntyre, and he was one of the detectives in Psycho.
Oh, okay.
Or he was the local sheriff.
And he was on Wagon Train.
Oh, yeah. So he's kind of all over, he's a character actor. But anyways, he has this dog. And
that was him? Holy shit, he was old.
So he has this dog named Hooch. And we got to find out what kind of dog this is. What is a French Mastiff?
That's what it is. That's why I couldn't remember it.
Yeah, and it's a big dog.
I don't know how words work.
It's a big dog.
and also has a stunt double named Igor.
Oh. So the real dog was Beasley. Got it. The French Mastiff.
Okay. And for that scene, which will come up.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, this old man has this dog, and he kind of like he has all these weird complaints, right? Like he always like, hey, I want you to come down, but he mainly just does it because he's a lonely old man and just wants to talk to Tom Hanks' character, I think.
Yes.
But so they have like a routine down, like he's bringing. Oh, I got a muffin for you, Hooch.
Yeah, that didn't work.
and so Hooch just goes and like puts Tom Hanks in like a chokehold,
Yeah, he puts his mouth around his neck, and I'm like, that seems scary. No matter how well trained that dog is.
Okay? Yeah, even acting in that scene would have been really scary. Yeah, I wouldn't be.
I don't. There's no acting required. If that was happening, I'd be pissing my pants.
So that's when you establish a relationship. There's Hooch, whatever. Tom Hanks, I don't think really likes Hooch, anyways. He just is tolerating him because he likes the old man.
It's got slobbery dog. He's been hated naturally.
Right.
Okay.
So, but what happens is the old man actually legitimately sees like a scam or something going on, and he witnesses or the guys are coming over.
I don't think he actually witnessed what actually happened at that point. He just knows there's shady shit going on. He knows there's
shady shit going on. And what happens is there's a murder that happens like across the way at this warehouse.
Yeah.
And
all you do is hear it, but it's weirdly
gruesome. A knife. Yeah, you hear the knife going in, like slitting his throat.
A guy makes like
it's PG.
It's like more of a creepy version of what I just did.
Right. And so so the guy, you hear the dog barking, he's like, hey, what's going on here? And the guy that did the murder is like, hey, don't worry about it. But then he ends up killing the old man. And so the next day, Tom Hanks and his partner go out there to, see what happened and investigate the murder. And these dog handlers come to take the dog away. Well, they fail because the dog is strong and does not want to leave. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you have to be nicer to the dog. I'm like, if you think you can do better, take him. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want him. So he ends up taking the dog in a funny scene where he actually like is holding like his leash or something out of the car while they're walking, where they're driving. So the dog is walking while they're driving, which is pretty funny.
It's a small enough town that I can believe that. Okay, without you're only going to go like.
Obviously, it's a movie, so there's a lot of unbelievable stuff happening in the movie.
It was fun.
But so he's like, okay, I'm going to take care of him or whatever, or until we can find out whatever happens. And then they meet a vet, played by Mare Winningham, who was in St. Elmo's Fire, and she was nominated in 1995 for Georgia. She was in the movie Georgia with Jennifer Jason Leigh. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, okay.
But the movie I know her in is a movie that came out in '89 as well called Miracle Mile with Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's really good, and Mare Winningham's great in it. Anyways, she's really good in this movie as the vet. Really likable. Before you can, say I do, they're gonna fall in love with each other.
The moment they meet, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. He's not moving anywhere. Okay.
But so she's the vet, and it's like, hey, you have to take care of your dog. He's like, oh, it's not my dog, and but anyways, so he ends up taking him home, and a lot of the first half of the film or the middle portion of the movie is him just clashing with the dog. The dog's eating the car, the dog's wrecking the house. And that was a 5-minute long scene.
That was fun because he goes to go buy Hooch a bunch of stuff at the general store.
Yeah, and while he's there, he just destroys everything. The house. But I love it when he looks. It's funny when the dog looks at the speaker. And he just headbutts.
Oh, that was great. It was great. He looks at it, and I'm like, oh God, he's thinking about something. That very mediocre looking speaker is gonna be ruined.
It was and so the murder investigation comes to a head when Hooch actually recognizes someone who was part of the murder
outside the window of the police station.
Yep. So then there's a chase going there, and then Craig T. Nelson's in the movie, and he is the superior officer of Tom Hanks' character. But as soon as you see Craig T. Nelson, who's on Coach,
you're the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah, you're like, he's the guy behind it all. You can just tell.
Because I mean, it's also because it's the kind of thing. It's like he knows. Craig T. Nelson knows he's the bad guy in the movie.
Well, you know how you can tell.
Telegraph it because it's a fucking kids movie.
And you know how you can tell too is in the credits it says and Craig T. Nelson as the police chief, and anytime.
Well, that could just be a freaking bullshit thing about your agent.
Anytime there's an and, there's usually a special something about that character.
It also could just be the person's in like 5 minutes of the movie and they said, well, I better be in the fucking credits. I want my $18 million.
So anyways, and then there's an investigation, and then there's at the end of the movie, Hooch is trying to get the bad guys by with having Hooch with him, and he's getting in on the action, and that's it. That's kind of the nutshell of the film. This movie knows exactly what it is. It's a comedy with a little bit of action in it, and the comedy is going to work solely based on Tom Hanks and how he interacts with that dog. And it knocked it out of the park. Like Tom Hanks,
he's
even though this is,
he's screaming constantly.
Even though
even
though I wouldn't say Tom Hanks, obviously he's not trying to win an Oscar here, but he deserves some kind of award for. He's really good in this movie.
Oh, he's good. He's good in this movie. He's fun.
It's great comedic. Tom Hanks
dies in the end, which is real surprising.
Really surprising.
I'm like, they didn't. This is a fucking.
That's
a fake out death.
And
right?
Tom Hanks is crying.
In
the movie, he's doing a really good job. He's good
because even when they're having their big conflicts in the middle portion of the thing, I'm like, he likes that dog.
Well, and then there's the scene when he actually wrestles with the dog, and he's like, and that was
trying to give the dog a bath.
Yeah,
he has to.
But then when he wrestles with the dog, when he's playing with the dog, when he's playing with him though, is great. He started playing with the dog, and Mare Winningham, I think she's really good in the movie, and
she is.
And their chemistry is great.
They're like good chemistry.
They seem like they're in love with each other, and when after they seemingly have sex with each other. Yep. And they're like gonna make the eggs. Like I don't make eggs. Like you're gonna learn how to make eggs. Like it's just this little cute little banter.
Yeah, I was somewhat concerned about that. I'm like, is this him trying to say, "Hey, you're the woman. Make me my fucking"?
No, I don't think so. I think
he ended up making it and it was fine. I'm
so what's great about it, and also Tom Hanks, like for a PG movie, Tom Hanks is in his tight black underwear through the whole movie.
You want to see Tom Hanks' body? This is the most skin flick of all the movies today.
Yeah, you see. I mean, and it's tight, so you see everything.
Oh yeah, he is wearing a little. It's not quite Speedo, but it's whitey tighties, but they're black.
But they're black, but they're super
small.
tight though.
They are 2 sizes too small,
right,
for what he's supposed
to.
And
he looks really good in them.
Yeah, he looks fine.
He looks great
because he's like 32 years old.
He looks
Tom Hanks would.
I think he was 32 years old. Good job.
That's a guess.
He was born in '56, so that makes sense because they probably shot it in '88. So 32.
Okay, because I mean, boy, it had been. He was on that TV show.
Booze and Buddies in the early 80s.
Early 80s. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess he was probably mid-20s when that was. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he's really good in the movie. And, the stuff that's probably the weakest stuff is probably when it gets more into, like, the murder investigation. It's like, it's standard.
It's fine.
It's standard
just
stuff.
Like,
it's a MacGuffin.
It would literally happen, and then he starts barking at the guy, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I get to watch it.
And there's a little bit of action.
Has to happen in the movie.
There's a little bit of action. It's pretty cool when Hooch, like, dives down, at the guy.
Yeah, there's like a big gunfight,
the
confrontation at the end of the movie.
Is this movie going to be known for its gun battles? No, It's going to be known for Tom Hanks yelling at the dog.
Which works fine.
Yeah.
Apparently it's not the best rated thing according to this, which I'm like, okay.
I don't know why. It
seems like it'd be
it's fine. No, it's a solid.
I had heard about this other stuff.
Oh yeah, I got to talk about it, but I'm giving it a strong 3. Like,
I'll give it
an easy 3 for me. Like, it's.
I'm trying to think. Did I like this more than Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Oh, I like this more than Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I mean, I liked more of the movie but the stuff in the miniatures, I'll give it a 3, but I might have to push Honey, I Shrunk the Kid up to 3. Yeah, I'm going to grade them both the same.
Okay, because I like this better, and it's just fun to watch.
They're surprisingly different movies.
Very,
thing, so it's kind of
even they're supposedly like family films. Now, what I liked, what's interesting about the movie is that Henry Winkler was the first director of this film. It's directed by Roger Spottiswoode. So Roger Spottiswoode, he directed he went on to do Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, but he also directed Shoot to Kill with Tom Berenger and Sidney Poitier. And that movie's awesome.
Oh.
Then he also directed I think the best Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie, arguably, because a lot of people like GoldenEye. I like Tomorrow Never Dies better.
Well, you're just wrong. That's fine. Okay.
But so he directed Tomorrow Never Dies, which I think is awesome. I love that James Bond movie.
Okay.
But the direction's fine. Like, the movie is not made, it doesn't make or break the movie. It's Tom Hanks and the dog that make the movie.
That's it. Yeah.
And
there's a couple of weird things that I remember watching, and I'm like, that was a weird choice for why they do that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm here for Tom Hanks.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Exactly. But anyway, so Henry Winkler, who's the Fonz on Happy Days, he did become a director, and he directed a few movies here and there. He actually directed another cop buddy movie, with Burt Reynolds and a kid called Cop and a Half.
That's a Henry
Winkler directed that movie, yes.
But the kid, now I'm assuming it's like this. The kid isn't actually a cop.
Yes. He witnesses the crime. Yeah,
it's the same. And how much does Burt Reynolds yell at the kid?
Probably a lot.
No, it's probably
I've seen it. I have seen it. It's pretty bad.
Does the kid slobber all over the place? Does he wreck his house? It's the same movie.
So it kind of is. Anyway, so Henry Winkler got fired after like 13 days at work or whatever. And we don't know exactly what happened. But in an interview, Henry Winkler, was like, hey, so you got fired. Why did you get fired? And Henry Winkler said, well, let's just say I got along better with Hooch than I did with Turner.
Yeah, so I had heard of this.
He did not get along with Tom Hanks, which is weird because both of them seem like the nicest guys in the world.
That's the thing I had heard about this. He's like the one guy in Hollywood that doesn't like Tom Hanks.
Right. And it's interesting. So I'm looking at the production notes, and Ron Howard, who's friends with both of them, said it was really hard to see that thing that's falling out because he was, and they both would talk to him about.
Has Hanks been in a Ron Howard film?
Oh, are you kidding me?
What am I thinking?
He's in tons of them.
I can't remember.
He is in Apollo 13.
Oh, 13. I'm sorry. What's wrong with me? I knew that.
Yeah, he's in Apollo 13, and he's in all of the 3 Da Vinci Code movies.
Oh, forgot he directed those.
Da Vinci Codes. Yeah.
I thought there were 4 of those.
There's 3, I think.
Whatever.
Maybe there's 4.
I haven't seen any of them.
I saw the first 2. It was okay. Yeah. Now I'm curious. I want to see if he's. I want to say he was in another Ron Howard movie. So he was in Apollo 13.
Beautiful Mind that's not Ron Howard, is it?
That is Ron Howard, but he's not. Tom Hanks is not in that.
Oh, that's right. I'm looking at Tom Hanks.
But I think that's all they did together then. But Splash, duh, he was in Splash.
Oh God, that's right. I forgot he directed Splash.
Yeah.
That was that was pretty early.
Yeah,
that was his 3rd directorial movie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's why he got to keep making more.
Yeah, yeah. So he was really good friends with Tom Hanks and Henry Winkler. So I know that's just a weird.
That is weird.
That is really strange. I think now that they've talked about that, they don't hate each other now. I think they've gotten past that.
Don't work together.
Right.
That's fine.
So yeah, so Turner and Hooch, I think, is a fun movie.
I thought it was a blast.
It was. Really
I had
good.
never seen it. It surprised me that the dog died in the end, but then and I'm like, that's a fake death. There's no. Right. But instead, there's a kid dog. Because that dog was porking this other dog. Okay.
There we go. That was our 6 movies that we did. So my best movie for me was Casualties of War. I think.
Oh,
it goes without saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So best your favorite performance.
My favorite performance. The one I'd be most surprised about is I saw Michael J. Fox show up, and I'm like,
yeah,
is he gonna be good in this? I mean, I think he's good, but it's just not. I haven't really seen him. He's been in a couple of dramas, really.
Yeah,
but he was He was really good.
For me, and you're gonna probably disagree, but I really like. I just love Sean Penn. It's an over the top performance, and that's why I like it. It's fun to watch. I just have
to find something to say. Yeah. And his voice is silly and hokey sometimes.
It is. Okay? It is. But I still buy into it, and I like it. And then probably supporting performance, I would probably give it to, I can't say her name, but for Casualties of War. Like she's Thai through Lee. Like she's so good. She's so good. And
okay, what would be your biggest surprise out of these 6 movies? It's obviously for you. It's for Let It Ride.
Yeah, you totally surprised by that movie.
It might be Let It Ride me because I've never hated. I thought it would be fine. It's Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I didn't love it, but I had fun, and
actually, weirdly, it might be like, God, I really wanted to like Millennium, but I ended up just frustrated.
Yeah, that was the worst.
The beginning
one
of it,
I'm
like, God, this has such potential.
That was the worst one for me. And then we've talked a lot about these other movies. Oh yeah, The Package, that was good too.
The Package is fine too. We talked about it 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah. Next time, so I actually know what date we're going back in time to next. So
yes,
we are going to February 29th of leap year. So February 29th. 1960.
1960.
So this probably
will not have a drive-in because we're in Minnesota.
No, yeah. So this will probably have a lot of 1958 movies because it's in the beginning of or 59 movies because
back then
it's 1960.
Movies lasted long.
So if we see a movie from 1960, I'll be surprised. They're only going to be probably from the late 50s. I'm guessing.
You're right. Well, this is before. That was the dead time of year.
Yeah.
When the blockbuster thing started.
Yeah, it was like in the summer.
January, February becomes nobody. They put out the stuff. They will put out last year's Oscar flicks though.
Yeah.
So we might have a few of those.
I think we will. So yeah. Well, that's it for this podcast. So that'll be it. Until next time, I'm Austin Kennedy and
I'm Timothy Kaiser.
Yay!
Tim Kaiser.
Oh, Timothy, huh?
Tim. That's my actual name, Austin.
All right. Until next time, stay geeky.